Well, I told you this was coming. Our favorite Live and Reloaded videos.
Yup.
Yes, how many do we have? 24 episodes, 22 released?
And 2 which will be released soon.
Yes, and then one more that'll be coming around at some point. It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes.
So a total of 25.
Yeah, but we can't review that one because we haven't recorded it yet.
Right.
So we will be counting down from our least favorite to favorite of top 24, which is all of them. But I want to give a little bit of a preface. We like all of these.
Right, yeah. There's not any that is disliked. Just some are a little lower on the list. Or just the production process might have been a little less fun.
Yeah, and that always hampers. Like, if the production process is a lot of fun, that always benefits into it. And then the and the inverse is the same.
Yep.
Also, before we start, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the closest one that ever would have been, specifically in this time, Parkway V. I'm going to give a shout out to Parkway V.
Oh, that would have been so fun.
So, can you explain Parkway V? What happened with that?
Parkway V, if you couldn't guess or just don't know what it would have been, that's based off of Avenue Q, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the Broadway musical, which is a parody of Sesame Street, but it's very adult humor centric.
Because we were talking, we realized that we've done either we or VeggieTales has been done an episode based off of every play we've been in. Willy Wonka, Drowsy Chaperone, Mary Poppins, The Nerd, Wizard of Oz, Beauty and the Beast, sort of, and Romeo and Juliet, more or less.
Yeah.
The only one missing is Avenue Q, and, well, we've been hooked on Avenue Q a lot lately, even in lieu of Mary Poppins.
Yeah. So we tried. We talked about it, but in the end, we just thought, okay, like, it's Avenue Q.
I mean, we've done Harry Potter. We've done Futurama. Futurama is the biggest one.
Right.
But that one is still able to be reworked. Avenue Q is basically the puppet South Park.
Right.
Which we're never doing a South Park. We're not even thinking about it.
Right, yeah. But also, there are the two major hindrances. The number one big one is just the fact that it's just like, though we can change it and like get rid of all the raunchy stuff, it's still just like, it's Avenue Q.
Which we could do. I've written a few sample parts. I don't know if you've seen them, but
I may have.
It's almost unrecognizable, but and that's a good thing because Futurama was more or less recognizable. But
well, the characters were the same. I mean, like they were. You could tell what they were based off of, but there wasn't any like. Right.
Yeah.
You didn't feel like. And, yeah, but also the other one, not as major, and we could have gotten past it, but it was still just kind of a thing. We would have been making a parody of a parody, and that was just kind of a little...
Well, it's not much of a parody, but, like, an adaptation.
Right. If we were to, like, basically... So, Avenue Q is basically adult version of Sesame Street. So if we were to unadult Avenue Q, it would almost just be making Sesame Street.
The problem is, though, it's really easy to do. That's one of the reasons why we got so upset with canning it, because it's so easy to do, and we had so many good ideas, but we couldn't get past the stigma. It's not out for sure. If we hear, like, a huge fan uprising, maybe we'll consider it, but for the time being, it's still one that never came to be.
Yes, but for the record, it would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's still in the back of our minds, but, you know, let us know if you want to see it, because if you don't say anything, it will never happen.
Yeah.
So, now let's get on with the list. Number 24, bottom of the list. Silly Sing-Along 3, even more silly songs.
It's not too big of a shocker, I could probably bet. I mean,
especially because we've said this multiple times.
Right, and also just the fact that it's not, like, a story, necessarily, so that it's not, like... There's not a whole lot in it to really love or dislike, even. It's just kind of like some little interactions here and there, and a little story about finding the new song.
It's based off of the VeggieTales Christmas Spectacular from 1998.
Right.
And I thought this countertop segments were really funny.
They
were. I still stand by that.
Yeah. And it was cool to have kind of a thing based around the songs and all.
Yeah, even though the songs are personally my least favorite part, that's why I'm pretty sure we're going to be cutting out silly songs that we're running out of ideas. And also because of college, it's going to make it a lot harder.
Right, yeah.
But there's a problem. The production cycle was a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
First of all, just the obvious thing, recording the songs was difficult.
Mm-hmm. We sounded worse in recordings.
Yeah.
Luckily, you'll never hear those recordings ever.
Yeah. There were some that were not so great.
It was really, really disastrous. And then piecing it all together was really hard. And then piecing one together that's bad enough. But doing all of that it was terrible.
Yeah. Although, it did birth, Mrs. Hagsley, and...
That was wonderful.
Yes.
I'll always love Hagsley.
She was originally just supposed to be just a joke character then and there, but they were like, hey, we need a old lady character. Let's use Hagsley.
Yeah. We needed her for Chuck, which is also on this list, spoiler alert, but I think you can tell because it's an episode.
Well, yeah, all of them are.
Yeah. And so, this one, it's not bad, it's just our least favorite.
Right. It just didn't have as much to offer.
When the cover art is the best part, that definitely says something.
Right, yeah.
I miss those cover arts from Isabella Cattell, though. Like, I don't know what happened, she just stopped doing them. But I miss those. Those were great.
I do really like those.
Yeah. Okay. Number 23, The Spork and the Stone.
Ah, yes. That was one of the earlier ones.
Our 4th episode, and our first one off location.
That's
we
true.
recorded them up, like, at our condo thing.
Yeah. That was... I don't remember if it was the same day, but it was the same trip. Indie did us first.
It was the same day.
It was the same day.
It was an hour before.
I actually remember because I remember watching the videos and I was wearing the same shirt.
Yes, and it was an hour before. But 4 words to describe this one: we were not ready.
Right.
This script was great, but we copped out so bad with the song numbers.
Yeah, it could have been really awesome if we had kind of waited a little till we kind of knew what we were doing more. We had like actual songs.
It's like if we did The Slumbering Guardian but cut out all the songs.
Right.
It wouldn't have been the same. Because like this, especially because the plot is like hindering like on the songs, and there was so many, we had to cut them out, and we wanted to do something like "Well, the Kindly Viking." And I think we did that in the writing for sure.
Right.
Specifically, the countertop segments I felt were really well done.
The countertop segments.
Those Archibald in the chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was great, and I remember even after that we were commenting on how much of a nostalgia blast that was.
Yeah.
This one writing really does feel like it was a part of the old stuff.
Right. Yeah. This was kind of one of those first ones because the first 3, while they were great, and in fact, as you'll notice, they are above this one on the list. They kind of more the vibes of, just in terms of like general vibes, kind of felt more like, say, like Sherlock Holmes, that kind of area. Yeah. And this was kind of the first one that felt like I could visualize it with older animation.
That's not a bad thing by any means.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That's a good thing, actually, because a lot of our more simple ones do have that kind of feel.
Right.
But this one, really, it would have been like a bit higher. It would have probably been at like the number 5 bottom slot, maybe. I don't know, possibly. But it's just the song thing that ruins it.
Right, that really just, I wouldn't say ruins, but it put a damper on it for sure.
For me, it really hurts.
Yeah.
Also, this one has one of our least professional mic recordings. There's a lot of stuttering in here, and that kind of don't like that.
That's true, yeah.
But I don't know why we don't fix that, but well, these things are really made constrained because we have a lot of really dense schedules. So, and it's not supposed to be that kind of show. It's live and reloaded. It's live. That's a part. It's one go, for the most part. We do have mistakes, and we do edit them out. We usually have like code words like "We hate you, Uncle Bean," or "I am the king." We started those at Sherry Dawkins, and then we carried them over to now.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you probably don't even know what Sherry Dawkins is, so
yeah.
Well, you'll have to see. So, Spork and the Stone could have been a lot better, but better, Mike, and no, please, the song thing. You could have waited.
Yeah, just a little bit down the road.
But I love that cover art. Okay, number 22, Job's Hard Luck Life. It's a hard luck life.
It's a hard night life for us. It's a hard night life for us.
So this one is another one with production cycle ruins the whole thing.
Right,
but that's not entirely the case. Production was a nightmare because I wrote this back in summer and then we had to get it out into January because of this whole big mess. And yeah, the tone also I feel is really, really dark. A lot of people really like this one. I really do like it, but we do put a bottom of what everyone was expecting because it just feels a little dark. I think this is like the least VeggieTales episode we made.
Right, I would agree with that. I feel like it's kind of in an awkward place where like it's not quite like, say, Esther or Gary Platter, that kind of zone, but it's far past being like a regular VeggieTales. So it's kind of in an awkward place. Kind of like the spot where you're not Tim's Software Hut anymore, but you're not Microsoft yet. That's actually a quote from Phil Vischer's book, Me, Myself, and Bob. That's a great book.
I love that book. Actually, remember, that was going to be an episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but we decided not to do it because we couldn't put a spin on it. But that's not saying this episode bad. It's like, it was good, and the tone was really well. There was a lot of really good humor in there. There was even a lot of really subtle references to the Job story. And it was really dark. The cover art is kind of scary.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
I mean, I do like it. I do like it a lot, but I think that might be some little kid's end of silliness if that was real. Because it's a little creepy. But I do like it. And also, Madame Blueberry had a really big role, and that was really nice because we hadn't used her in a very long time.
Right.
The Video Blaster song is still really fun.
Yeah.
And everything, I think, was really well. But it's just...
I forget, did it have a countertop even? I don't think it did. I'm trying to think of it. I can't think of what the countertop was, if there was any.
Did they have a countertop? I do not remember.
No, I think it did.
Yeah, it had to have.
Right.
Because, like, only, like, the super big ones don't have one.
Right. I do kind of remember the letter of some kid having a bunch of bad things happen.
Yeah, and really, it's not this episode's fault. It's the story of Job in general. It's one of the darkest Bible stories of them all.
Right. It's, I mean, like, when we kind of had the idea, like, or not the idea, because, like, we had the idea before, but when you're kind of, like, going into, like, we're making Job a VeggieTales, we're like, okay,
sure. And, well, we did it, and we did it to the very best of our ability, and it had some nice echoing effects, too, in the tower.
Right.
That tower scene I still really, really like.
That was a really fun scene.
Like, it's just like, there's something in it. I don't know what it is, but it keeps it low on the list. Probably the production cycle really hurts it, too. And the fact that it just kind of became neglected after a while, that probably doesn't help, but, oh well, let's press on.
It did have one of, this might be in my, like, top 10 Live and Reloaded, like, lines or, like, exchanges. And Job said to Jimmy and Jerry's like, weren't you guys watching it? Oh, we were watching it, alright. First it swayed left, then it swayed right, then it just kind of fell down.
Oh, I forgot about that line.
That's like top 10 lines.
Yeah, that top 10 for me, easy. Like, when we have our own show, we gotta reuse that line.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna reuse a lot of stuff we like.
Right.
So if you ever notice a show stealing our jokes, it's probably us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right. First it swayed left, then it swayed right, and then it all just kind of fell down. I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 21, Two Tales of Two Cities. One that we talked about a lot back then, not so much now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I guess it's I mean, to be fair, it's pretty old. That was
3.
Right.
We're getting out of... This is like we're out of the era where it's like, this one has some problems. Really, this is more of like a perspective thing.
Right.
This one, you can tell we were starting out. This was the first one with the two-story format.
And this was also the first one where we were actually recognizing ourselves as an actual series instead of just a couple fan scripts we made.
Yeah. This one was the first one as a series.
Right.
Two Tales of Two Cities, I think, was...
You could almost say this is the first Live and Reloaded episode.
Yeah, it's like 2 pilots before it.
Right.
Which I'm not sure up yet. But, still, this one I still think is good. I still think it's good. It's not great, but good.
Yeah. I do like both the stories in it.
Although the Sodom and Gomorrah one I do think is better.
Right.
It's VeggieTales tradition to usually have the second story be better. That's usually how it turns out.
Right.
Except for sometimes like Lie of the Kindly Viking or Snoodle's Tale, where they're both great but in different ways. So like you can't really compare them.
Right. Like for Lie of the Kindly Viking, you like Hamlet or Omelette.
Omelette is like a gift.
It's just hysterical.
It's a gift to mankind.
I can't watch it without just cracking up every single time.
Yeah, like actually, one of the things I did for my English class, one of the last projects I did was dub that. And I had the class in hysterics because they thought I made that up. Like, they thought I rewrote it. I'm like, no, that's just me redoing the voices. As Mr. Land, and also Jimmy, on Skilter, din Skilter too.
And then, although as like a legit story. It wasn't like...
Lyle is like still really funny. Has some awesome music.
Right, yeah.
And
like, in terms of actual story, Lyle definitely tops it, but Omelette is just so hysterical.
Yeah, and then there's Dr. Jiggle and Mr. Sly. That one's really fun.
So hilarious.
Really quirky.
I love it.
So funny, especially the hand, the feet. Especially when you've read the book, it's so funny. Because it has a lot to do with the book, and yet nothing to do with the book. It's like
sick.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
But then Snoodles Tales actually genuinely gives you the feels.
Right.
It's really sweet.
Especially now that I can say this, but I've seen other people say this, so I'm just saying it from the experience of others. Especially if you're a parent. Mm-hmm. I've heard people say that, and it really got them if they're a parent. I don't know, because it's not about parents.
But actually, when I felt down and stuff, because my school was a pit, I just watched that and because that, especially when he's talking with the Big Snoodle, the creator,
the god.
That is so beautiful.
Oh my god, that.
And then they ruined it later in Sweet Pea Beauty when they showed the Snoodle. They showed what he looked like. You remember that? He looks like Apollo Guard, but with wings.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we don't need to acknowledge those.
This is Two Tales of Two Cities. This one is kind of the same. The Odysseus one is definitely the more story one, while the Sodom and Gomorrah one is really funny.
Right.
The Odysseus one, let's talk about that one first. The Trojan Horse is just kind of it was a simple story. It was meant to be simple. One of my favorite part in the whole thing was, we need to alert the king! Hey, king! And then he wakes up from a pile of leaves.
Another moment I really liked was when Polites was leaving. Polites, wait! You need to jiggle the handle a little bit to open the door.
Yeah, I remember that one. No one forgot about that.
Yeah, it's got some great moments for sure.
It's got a lot of subversion humor too, like when Rashid in Sodom and Gomorrah was like, "What do you think you're doing? Gathering around here yelling at them? That won't do anything. You need to break the door down." Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's this is a video store, whatever that is. Well, we follow Sodom's law, which is if you see something you like, take it. And then blah, 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 they're talking about Gomorrah. Oh, they just follow Gomorrah's law, which is if you see something you like, you take it. That's the same thing.
Oh. One moment was like, I just came to welcome you to the neighborhood and to tell you that someone's stealing your grill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, this is bringing back good times.
Oh, yes.
I forgot about all of this stuff.
Yeah, this has got some great stuff in it.
And I just watched some of these. But, yeah, this one was a lot of fun recording, too. I remember we did it at night. We did it, in an actual recording area this time, not just, in the middle of somewhere. And we actually even commented at the end, wow, we feel like we're actually doing a VeggieTales show.
Right.
Because of the environment we set up, and we got it all ready to go, and we felt great. Mm-hmm. This one really, although it doesn't hold up as well as some others, we still think this is really good.
Right.
And it really, one of the also things is the production was great, but it also helped really inspire us. Eddie Woodley and Egomaniac were still fun, but this one really felt like we had something. It wasn't we don't think it was as good as those, clearly, but it really gave us a sense of inspiration.
And I think another reason it might be lower, it's a similar case in Lot, how just Sodom and Gomorrah is kind of a story in the Bible.
It's similar to Job, not Lot.
Yes. Yeah, they're the same. This is Lot. But, yeah, similar to Job, it's kind of like...
Yeah, that ending was dark.
Right. I think I don't remember if we actually kept this, but I remember we had the idea where after his wife turns into salt, she was still alive.
Yeah!
But she was just salt.
Yeah, her eyes moved and it was so creepy.
Yeah, we were just thinking about it, that's creepy. We kind of wanted to do that so it's oh, she's not dead, she's just salt.
That's even worse.
But then it's okay, now she's a walking salt monster. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So let's just have her be a salt statue and leave it at that. And she doesn't have to be dead. She's just a salt statue that doesn't move or blink or anything.
Mm-hmm. So, Two Tales of Two Cities. Still good. Still good. Don't get us wrong.
Yes.
So, number 20, The Littlest King. Okay, this is going to sound mean, but I have no idea why this is a fan favorite. I still really like this one, but people rave over this one.
Right, yeah.
I think it's good. I definitely think it's good. I give it a decent 7 out of 10. I give it a decent 7 out of 10, but people are like, this is one of the fan favorites. This is like one of our highest viewed. It's one of our best like to dislike ratio. This one was one people vote on the fan polls on the wiki all the time.
Yeah.
I have a theory. It really takes him back to Are You My Neighbor?
Right. I was thinking that same thing. Like, it's kind of like I was saying before with I think it was Spork. Yeah, with Spork. How like you can picture it with the kind of older animation. With Spork, I was kind of specifically referring to like the Lyle, like King George, that kind of zone. But with this, like with the Littlest King, I could like envision it with like Are You My Neighbor animation.
Especially the way we deliver the lines. Especially Archibald, who does talk kind of like this. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Archibald talks like this right now, like a normal person. But back in the day, he actually had a speech pattern. And whenever I hear that speech pattern, I always get nostalgic, like, "This folks with bronchitis, they're sick with the flu, I bet that you're quite busy too." I know that's not one of his lines, but he talks like that a lot, like, "Young man, I do understand your dire situation, and please understand that I share your frustration. But how do I put this? How should I say? Maybe you'll understand it a bit this way." Like, a lot of them talked like that when they were back in the old days. Did you notice that? They all have that kind of thing. They go up and then down, and then up and then down. They all kind of talk up and then down. Like that.
Right.
So, and like, we did a lot of that in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, this is something, if you watch the Wizard of Oz commentary, you'll pick up on this. Both Archibald and Junior kind of kept this, but Archibald kind of lost it over the years. They kind of had like a side mouth, like their mouth kind of was a little off to the side when they talked, especially when they sang, and kind of like, yeah. And when I like envisioned this, I can picture that really.
I can see like the glitchy animation. I can see. Right. I think, like I said, this really takes him back to that moment, especially the first story, which I actually think is the better one, the Zacchaeus story.
Right. Yeah.
I like that one a lot, and I actually worked really hard on that, because rhyming is hard. But yeah. I worked really hard on that one. I'm really proud of that one. Littlest King, the segment itself, it's good, but I have a dirty secret. Half of that was improvised, because the script was too short. So I paused it mid-recording and said, okay, we need to make up some stuff for this. This is way too short. The Littlest King segment, I think, is good, but the Zacchaeus one, I think, is far better.
Right. I really enjoyed that one. Oh, sorry. I just kind of had a little spaz there. I'm good.
Come on, Uncle Bean.
Jeez, Uncle Bean. That happens when I'm chilly.
Yeah. It's cold in here, but that keeps us awake. Yeah, awake! But, yeah, I really, I can totally see from an outside perspective how this could bring you back. And a lot of people have commented it really feels like the old days. It's short, it's got the rhythmic patterns, it's got the same writing style.
Right.
Whether it be something like from Flibberall Lou, or kind of like, how the Littlest King turned out to be, kind of a little mix of Daniel and the Lion's Den meets Dave and the Giant Pickle.
Right.
Like, yeah, that animation I can definitely see in that.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like an old one, and it really also came good, because that was right in the middle of, like, The Oddball, Futurama, and Gary Platter coming up right after that. This was a nice one to just kind of, to take a breath.
Yeah, yeah. Also, another thing I want to point out, kind of, I mean, this is a little redundant, but, like, another thing, like, I can picture this one with that boing, 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 like when everyone hops around.
Yeah.
Like, they all used to boing, and they don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which, part of me isn't too bummed about that, because, like, I can't picture watching, like, some of the newer episodes.
Like Lord of the Beans.
Right, with the boinging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would just be awkward and would kind of ruin effect. But, like, for those older ones, it just was, that's how it was. And I could picture this with the boinging.
I really could. And it feels nice. Like, I appreciate it more now talking about it than I did going in.
Right. I feel like that's probably going to be true for a lot of them.
Yeah, like, that's the same with Two Tails, actually.
Yeah.
Some others, not so much. But, hey, we're 24 minutes in, and we've only listed 4. Number 19, Voyage of the Cauliflower, Journey to the New Land. The title I always get wrong. So this is another one like Littlest King. It just kind of takes a breath and it kind of relaxes.
Yeah.
There's an interesting story of the first Thanksgiving. It's something you would have thought they would have done a long time ago.
Right. It's not like a Bible story, but it's like just a historical story that's God base.
And it's got a lot of good humor in there, like Mike Sandwich is the main character.
Right.
Oh, this is one of my top 10 favorite moments again. When they're praying, when they're learning how to pray, and Charles Fitcher's like, "Dear Jesus, give me like 1,000,000,000 billion pounds of gold. And a lightsaber." The end.
And a lightsaber.
And it just says the end. And I remember we had to turn off the mic and just go, because it's the way that he delivered it, just like, it was like,
He didn't. I don't think the lightsaber was originally in there. I think I just said the lightsaber.
a lightsaber. 1,000,000,000 pence of gold. And a lightsaber. The end.
He said, I don't know why it was the end. I think I might have just read it accidentally and said the end instead of amen or something. I don't remember. Maybe it did say the end. I can't quite remember.
But I thought that was funnier.
Yeah.
Oh,
The end.
I've never forgotten that moment. I've always held on to it.
So great. Oh yeah.
Okay, to be honest, this is probably, in my opinion, the most forgettable episode. Like, it's the
Right.
one I remember the least. So
Right.
it's going to be very short when we talk about it. But I do remember, I just watched this one recently, that's how I remember so much of it, specifically that lightsaber part. But I loved the silly song in this one, the Polish Foods at Christmas. It was like the 8 Polish Thanksgiving food things.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. We love Oscar, so it's great to have him back.
We haven't used Oscar in a while.
Yeah, we've only used him once. The story was
yeah.
very nice, and it did progress nicely. It
Yeah.
was a little bit better than Job, where it just kind of jumped into the dark. This one progressed. It progressed. This was basically Job, but with more experience under our belt.
Yeah.
Because I've always pointed to Job being the last one where we were just kind of forming. I pointed
Right.
to Pirates, Venture, the Diamond Pearl, as the one where we officially knew what we were doing. Like,
Yeah.
100%. Job was still like 90%. That was 100. You can tell this is the Job with the 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of all we have to say about that. Sorry if this is your favorite. We just kind of blipped on it. But number 18, it's the Abrams family.
Yep.
This is one, in all honesty, another one, I think, you're going to hear this a lot, that if we waited a little more, it could have been even better.
Yep.
But I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Right. I really like this one. Both the segments in it I really like.
It's another, like, Lyle and Omelet thing. They're both very different.
Right.
The first one is way more story. Mm-hmm. With, except for King Jabin Big as a Hunt.
That was so great. I love that.
And we no Obama jokes. That was very hard to make because there's a character named Barack. So it was very hard, but we're not political people. Well, I study politics, but you know what I mean.
Right.
But yeah, so that one was good. But the real one that I really... Oh, one thing we did get a comment over, and we got a lot of comments since this, was we gave Petunia a personality in this one.
Right.
Because they pointed this out, and I noticed this a lot, but Petunia, her personality was the girl. She was
Yes.
the prize. Especially in Minnesota Cuke 2. I hate her portrayal in that one.
I haven't seen that one in a long time.
She just screams and waits for Minnesota to save her. It's embarrassing. And whenever they give her a role, like, with dignity, it feels wrong. Mm-hmm. But this one, we kind of gave her a little bit of a character.
Right. Yeah. So she's not just that token girl that's there to be a girl.
Yeah.
This is no time to be a girl. So
Yeah.
says Smithy.
Yeah, Smithy. But now the Abrams family. So, a lot of people did get that reference in there. The Norman Meyer joke, who was from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, which a lot of people are kind of on, but I think is actually pretty good. It does take a lot of liberties with the show and the comics, but I do think it was really good. Mm-hmm. But anyways, we're here to talk about that segment. I think the lesson was actually a little better in that one.
Yeah.
Because it was about judgment, and I think it was really good. The only regret I have is that I wish it could have been longer. Because I loved writing for the characters. It was so fun.
I recording those were all really fun too.
Mm-hmm. And it has... It's really close in this, but it has one of my favorite cover arts. Because it looks like the cover art for the Addams Family movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the VeggieTales Live and Reloaded logo is in different font, and I thought that was so cool when it came. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I still think it's cool. Yeah, I was a really good one, really fond of it, and it was the last one to not feature a silly song. Well, the one after that, The Show Must Go On, didn't have one. It wasn't supposed to.
Right. There wasn't a silly song excluded.
But this is the one that was the last one up until this new era to have Well, a silly song. It did have a different song, but it wasn't a silly song.
Right.
So that's all we can say about that one. So what one's next? Elijah and the King. Elijah and the King. Elijah and the King. No, it's actually Lion and the King.
Oh my gosh.
Your father, the Black Panther, is your father.
The diamond, my God, I've forgotten them completely. Naturally, okay, we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah, so Elijah and the King. This one was intentionally made to be kind of a Little Joe era one.
Right.
Oh Joe, oh little Joe.
I feel like, so technically speaking, chronologically, I guess you'd say, all of these episodes would take place like after all the VeggieTales episodes.
I'd say after like Easter Carol.
Right, or something kind of around there. But like, I'd almost kind of like want to like put certain ones in different like places, like just where they feel appropriate. And like, yeah. And this is another one that's kind of it's got that zone, the Little Joe zone.
A character we created specifically for this that I really wish we could do more of was Gil O'Gill.
I love Gil O'Gill.
We based him off of the pagans from the flannel board segment from Sumo the Opera, which I regret saying that wasn't very, that was just kind of because I walked back in and that was so funny. Yeah. Specifically those Irish stereotypes. Would you like to pray to me, Twig?
Not really.
Okay, suit yourself. And then my favorite part, at least, and this was the one that inspired Gil O'Gill, when like when he kicks someone with a soccer ball, so he just goes, "Oh, wiggity tidy do, ring ding hidey hidey ho."
Is good in any way like it, Twig?
Nothing really comes to mind.
Alright, just asking.
We based Gil O'Gill.
One of the best things also. Oh, great, Shamrock!
No, God is not like a shamrock. It's a metaphor.
Oh, great metaphor! You are.
No.
Oh, and I really want to have a Gil O'Gill versus Scooter rap battle.
Yes! Like, if we can do that somehow, I'd love that. But Gil O'Gill is one of the things that makes this episode. He's so funny.
Being just so Irish.
I'm Gil O'Gill. I'm gonna tell you the hidey ho. And also, I liked Ball.
Right, Ball.
Because actually, that's actually a Bible joke, because a lot of people can pronounce it Baal or they pronounce it Ball. Because the double A has a lot of sounds.
Or, I've also heard Baal.
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 Baal. But, I pronounce it Baal, personally.
Right, I usually do too.
But, yeah,
It's
Ball.
really fun. Ball.
Ball. It's just a ball.
It's literally just a rubber ball.
Yeah, that really felt like, not to pat myself on the back, but that really felt like something they would do.
Right, make it into a rubber ball.
Yes.
Make Bale/Ball into a rubber ball.
This was one of the easiest ones to cast, too. Like, we always knew Elijah would be Archibald. We always knew Ekmetha would be Jezebel. Nezer, Ahab, Gil O'Gill. It almost sounded like Kill a Kill, which is his name, and it's not very good. But either way, yeah, and this also had like a lot of Jonah stuff in there, like with Archibald being the prophet. The prophet!
I still want to picture... Wait, was he on the camel?
Yes.
Yeah, he was on the camel. Alright, I was thinking that.
Whenever I pictured Elijah, I always pictured Jonah.
Yeah.
This is another simple one to talk about, but don't worry, the next ones aren't so simple, because we're getting up the list. Number 16, Samson the Great, Episode 5.
One of our earlier ones again.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Mr. Lunt was so funny in this.
Oh, I love Mr. Lunt in the lion costume.
Why are you wearing a lion costume? I don't judge or wardrobe, buddy. I mean, he sells slushies and stuff. This one, again, really feels like something they would have done with the Samson one.
Right.
This one, I actually kind of feel was a little ahead of its time. Like, it really doesn't feel so much like an early one. It feels kind of like a Blessed Gift Job era when we kind of knew more of what we were doing. I think we kind of got lucky with this one.
Yeah. Yet it's still lower than the first two. But, hey, you know what? Those two were great, so.
Yes. We followed, I think, it pretty well. We did get a little flack for changing the ending, but do you really want to see Samson die in a VeggieTales episode?
Yeah. And just be kind of... Yeah.
And it spawned the phrase, "Oh my gourd," which we still use.
Yeah.
People are like, please keep using that. This one is another one of my favorite cover arts because it's so good.
Right,
It's got like all those on there. I really miss those.
I wanted to throw in a "Hey There, Delilah" reference in this. I didn't end up doing it just because I forgot when we were recording.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that. It'd be really funny if he said, "Hey there, Delilah." But then I forgot to say it.
Did we put that in there?
I don't
think we did.
think so. Because I kind of remember, like, at one point when we were recording, kind of thinking, oh, shoot, that would have been a really good time to say it, but now I can't say it anymore. Oh, well.
It was a one-time thing.
Right. And it's like, yeah, we can live without it. It would have been funny, but, it's not going to ruin the
And this one also had continuity with the Christian Children's Expo thing. I don't remember, but it was the last one in that arc, because Two Tails, Spork, and Samson were in that arc.
Right.
And I remember that one. That was a nice ending, a really sweet ending on that countertop.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm forgetting something.
There was...
Because I feel like there's something really important I'm missing here.
The Samson, Goliath. Goliath had some great moments. We had the "Hey Goliath."
Yeah, and then there's like the guessing what the riddle is. It was like,
it's
crab cakes. It's the 1978 Cincinnati Bengals. Wasn't there like the super scallion in there who's like super weak? He could barely pick up a twig.
And there was the kind of vague Monty Python reference. Or no, wait. I think this might have been in Spork. Right, this was in Spork of the Stone, or Spork in the Stone, it was like Sir something, the not quite as brave as this person, but still not as cowardly as Sir Leonard. Yeah. It was like Sir Ronald the Brave, Sir Leonard the Cowardly, and Sir someone else that not as brave as Sir Ronald, but still not as cowardly as Sir Leonard.
Yes, that was great.
Okay, yeah, that was in the other one. That wasn't this one.
Yeah, and this one was still good. It was still really good. I had a lot of action. It would have really benefited with some animation, but we can't do that. Yeah, I really felt this one was well done. It really also helped us learn. It really helped us learn what worked and what didn't. Because this had a lot of stuff that worked, and we decided, hey, this stuff works, let's try to do more stuff like this.
And I think that I can think of, this is the only time Petunia's been a villain.
Yes, I think so. Like, you wouldn't count Abrams, so...
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, it was a pretty diverse role. A lot of people played stuff that was out of their comfort zone, too.
Right.
Larry played a jerk. Petunia was a villain. Nezer was a coward, which he proceeded to play in the next episode. Jean-Claude and Philippe were dunces. Like, a lot of people...
I mean, that's not too out of the ordinary for Jean-Claude.
And it wasn't an out-of-character casting either. It was just new stuff for them to try.
Right. And that's also a nice thing with VeggieTales, is you don't have to worry too much about being out of character, since they're playing characters.
Sometimes you'll go, okay, they were not meant to play that role.
Right.
Specifically, like, later on down the road, like... I liked Pistachio. It's a very controversial opinion, but Larry should not have been Gelato.
Yeah.
That should have been Pog Grape or Mr. Nezer.
I agree, totally.
He could have been he and Nezer should have swithed roles, I think.
Who was Nezer?
He was the evil puppeteer guy. The puppet with no strings!
Right, yep. Right, yeah. I did like Paw Grape's little role in there. I thought that was really funny, but they could have...
cheesy, yeah.
Right, they could have even just switched them around.
Which, short little thing in there, I love the music in that one.
Yes, that's
specifically
really great.
the Italian trio and the whale.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah. Pistachio's kind of underrated, to be honest. I used to really not like it, but after watching it a few more times, I'm like...
There are two things I hate about it. One, it was the gateway for the fairy tale apocalypse. And two... Any episode with Cordy talking makes me angry!
Yep.
Except for Meaningful Life, because that was a beautiful episode, and I love it. But Cordy should shut up! Everyone hated that. That's why he only talked in, 3 episodes.
Uh-huh. And, in that episode, when, Bob, screamed at Cordy, talking, I'm like... I screamed right there with him. But also, speaking of we're getting a little off topic, but I just want to mention one little quick thing. Speaking of the kind of countertop renovation, they had the the whole joke with the throw pillow.
I love that.
I was so upset when the next episodes didn't have the throw pillow anymore. I'm like, are you kidding? That was the only good thing about the redesign. I mean, the blue wall is fine.
I understand why they did the blue wall though, because they explained it. The animation with the white wall, it did not look good. If you look back to Minnesota Cuke 2 or I think Sir Nicholas, I think, was the last one without it, with the white wall, but it didn't have a countertop. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. But even the Amazing Promise too, it doesn't look good. Right. It washes out the characters, and I think the blue wall,
the blue is good. It's nice.
It's a necessary evil. It's a change, but it looks way better with the blue, and it looks a little more inviting.
Right.
But
the throw pillow was just hilarious, and then they just got rid of it. I'm like, seriously? Now all we've got to show for this rhino is talking QWERTY.
Yeah, but then that was gone.
Yeah.
I do like updated QWERTY though, because
it looks
he needed to go away from that IBM whatever.
Right.
And then also, I really like the making fun of, even though it's not relevant anymore, the extreme makeover crying edition. I thought that was actually like something they would have done way back then.
Right.
Like, how do you feel now? Fine. You hear that? He feels fine. Aww.
And like the host guy, he looked so much and like sounded so much like the guy.
Todd Pennington.
Right. Yeah. That was great. Okay, we're way out topic.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about pistachio another day on another Veggie Talks. But yeah. So Samson, it kind of has the same thing as that. A lot of diverse roles and a lot of good humor. So let's move on because we've already eaten up a lot of time with this one. 15, Larry Boy and the Egomaniac, episode 2, and it's this high.
Yeah.
Wow. So, we weren't sure about this one when we did it, because we were like, hey, Eddie Woodley was fun, but can we really do another one?
Yeah, we weren't, it was kind of the same thing. We weren't the Tim Software Hut, but we weren't Microsoft yet. We weren't a series, but we were like, making more than one, and we're like, so we're just making random things here. This is kind of awkward, but oh well, we'll just go with it.
Yeah, and it spawned the Ickabeezer song. Ickabeezer, Ickabeezer, whoa, we hate Ickabeezer. Which, by the way, VeggieTales in the House is over, yeah! But it lives on in the city.
Which is
the same thing. It's the same mindless drivel.
It's comparable just in terms of like, it's basically just the VeggieTales version of Teen Titans Go.
It really is. Actually, I think we've even made that comparison before.
Yeah.
But, okay, so, Larry Boy and the Egomaniac. This spawned 2 of our favorite original characters, Egomaniac and Henchy.
Henchy was, like, we didn't really have plans for him to be more than just a one-off character. And, like, at the time, of course, Egomaniac was probably going to be a one-off character.
And still is, kind of.
Well, he's a 2-off.
Yeah.
But like Henchy was really just kind of going to be in the same zone, just be like one of the Larry Boy characters. But no,
because we loved him so much.
Fun.
I'm Henchy.
Yeah. Well, Phil Anderson. We don't want to offend him.
Yeah, he hates that name. So, and like he was a really good boar in Gary Platter. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we were wondering why there's 24 because we lumped those episodes into one.
Right.
Just letting you know. So, yeah. This one had a lot of good action and a good lesson.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, well, obviously, since we've only done 2 and this was the second episode, it was our first go at a Larry Boy episode.
Of 2.
Yes.
And you really think they would have done a Pride lesson long ago? They did it in 3-2-1 Penguins, but they've never done it in VeggieTales.
Yeah, I mean, they've done similar things, like greed and selfishness and stuff, but it's like the same sort of, like, inward thinking, but like literal just like pride and just thinking highly of yourself. They never directly tackled that.
Also, aside from Mr. Freeze or whatever, Egomaniac is one of the least competent Larry Boy villains ever. But he's still a threat. Oh, before we go on, one of my favorite parts of the episode, Jerry Boy.
Jerry Boy. Oh, I forgot about Jerry Boy.
Jerry Boy, he does lots of things. Jerry Boy, he eats onion rings. I love that one.
Oh, that was so great.
That was our love letter to Englishman who went up the hill and came down with all the bananas.
Yep. And I think one of the best parts of that, other than the theme song, which was just so amazing, was the plunger launched at Jimmy and then just jump cuts to the plunger just on his face.
I want somebody to animate this, please. If any of you know how to animate, please
or
animate
even just
Jerry
like make or even just like a storyboard. It would just be so funny.
We did have someone make a storyboard for like the first countertop of Two Tails, but nothing else ever came of that. But if anyone can do anything with Jerry Boy, you have our permission. Just let us know if you do, because we want to see it.
Yeah, I in theory could make a storyboard, but it would look really crappy. Mm-hmm. But if you can make like a good storyboard, oh my gosh, that'd be so great.
Mm-hmm. We would definitely love to see it if you could do it. But yeah, Jerry Boy was, oh wow. And it's the first two-segmented Larry Boy.
Yeah, even though the first part wasn't much of a segment. Oh, that reminds me, on the countertop, it's like, so in the story, Larry Boy learned blah, 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 and what about Jerry Boy? What? Well, you know, like usually when you have two segments, you talk about what the lesson each of them taught. Okay, well, in Jerry Boy, the monster was prideful, and that's why he lost. Yeah. Oh, and then we threw some shade at DreamWorks.
Oh, what was that?
It was like, let's get to work on the sequel. Jerry Boy and the really hairy guy. Yeah, we better get it. Yeah, we better get to work writing it before someone steals it. I've got my eye on DreamWorks.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah.
Jerry Boy like makes this episode so much better.
The main segment is like great, but
Jerry Boy's like the hot fudge and the sprinkles and the cherry on top of the ice cream.
Right.
It's that I really want to do more of that, but like if we did too much, it would spoil the joke.
Right.
But like anytime Jimmy and Jerry have their hand in something, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Like please host a show sometime.
It'd be
like
so great.
Host like a long show so we can get like a half-hour Englishman who went up the hill and came down with all the bananas.
Oh my gosh, it'd be like.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
That'd be so great.
But I really felt the action was well done, and this has the smallest Mr. Nezzer role today. He was a townsperson.
Right.
Let's see. A pretty interesting way of communicating the lesson and also the evil plan. Yes, and so that's kind of all I have to say about that, but funny enough, wouldn't you know, number 14, Larry Boy and the Deadly Seven of VeggieTales movie. Funny enough, not our longest episode, but it is still a movie. Because we did want to make it atmospheric like a movie.
Right.
First of all, the Deadly Seven, I really like those guys.
Right, they were really fun to do.
Awful Alvin is back.
Alvin is great. I really want to see what Awful Alvin would look like in 3D.
That'd be cool.
Or like the 3D
Him
animation.
And Lampy.
Right. I mean, Lampy's just a lamp. That's not too complex. And in fact, I think we brought up him, like, even though, of course, you can't see it, but, like, mentioned, like, cameos of him in some other episodes, or, like, he was, like, there. Like, Adventure Time Snail. Yeah. I think that's what it is.
Maybe, like, when you guys watch this, you can imagine that Lampy's in the background in every episode. I'd like that, actually, if people did that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Then you can all comment on where you think he is. Tell us what scene you want to see Lampy in each episode.
And then we'll release an official thing.
Yep.
Saying what it is. Okay, so, what was this? Oh yeah, so I liked the Deadly Seven. Specifically, I liked the Deceiver.
Right, the Deceiver was fun.
He just couldn't be trusted.
Literally. Well, like, in some ways he could be, because he was so untrustworthy that you always knew what the truth was based on what he said. So in some ways he was very trustworthy.
I also liked the Roach.
Yes, the Roach was really fun.
We're Tick fans. I don't think he's seen very many episodes of the cartoon, but he's seen almost every episode of the Patrick Warburton show, which is only 9.
Right.
And that new one is...
I haven't seen the new one. But... It's okay.
Not as good as the other live-action one. I know that's a kind of a controversial opinion, but I liked it. It wasn't bad. Like, I'm sure it didn't have that much action, but they were going to get to that in the next season.
Right, and it was honestly kind of like, just felt like it was a sitcom.
And it was funny.
Yeah.
Are you denying the snazzy of that?
Yeah. And obviously the Roach, which was a lot more, not philosophical, but just like meaningful and
competent,
thoughtful, I'll just say, than the Tick was, because the Tick is not competent.
Yeah, and if this was a movie, wow, this would have a lot of great animation. And
right, yeah.
We made this actually originally as a regular episode, but then we kind of realized, why isn't Big Idea ever done a Larry Boy movie? They're more popular than he's more popular than the Pirates.
Yeah, I actually, when the Big Idea YouTube channel, for some reason, uploaded the entire Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie on their YouTube channel. I don't know why they did that, but oh well. I mean,
they're not making any money off of it.
Yeah, and like, but like, I read in the comments like, there were some comments that were like, yeah, sure, this is good, I like it, but like a lot of comments were like, so why wasn't this a Larry Boy movie again? Like, a lot of people were just like...
Nobody asked for this. Because a lot of people say, hey, it's a good movie. No, it's not. It's really clumsily written. It's one of the big turning points for VeggieTales being really for kids. Also, another thing is, it took the pirates, who were meant to be a silly, goofy, one-off thing, and Gideon emphasized that. It turns them into this, like, kind of serious story.
Right.
It ruined the joke. The joke is that they're lazy. They do nothing. It's just it's an evening club for them, and it just ruined it.
Like, the most serious thing they've done before is, like, help a guy sail across the sea so they could get money to buy cheese curls.
Yeah, and if you look at the pirates in Jonah and Gideon and look at the pirates and the pirates who don't do anything, they're different. They're not even the same.
I mean, literally, they changed their names in the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie. It was not Larry, Paw, and Lunt anymore. That being said, I think Mr. Lunt's character actually had a lot of really funny one-off lines.
But it didn't save it.
Right. Like, there were some really funny lines, I feel like, where you could kind of look at it and see, like Phil kind of like writing just like little moments where he would just like write what he wanted to write and not just...
Phil did talk about this, said there was a lot of meddling with this. The script was a lot different.
Right.
But this is kind of a roundabout way of saying VeggieTales Live Reloaded has been all about listening to the fans. You guys, it's like the U.S. government, where you guys control the government, where essentially the government in this case, I called dibs on the president.
Oh.
Because I already have his hair color.
Okay, fair enough.
You get to have white hair. And you're named after a British currency.
I can live with that.
Pence. Anyways, so it's a roundabout way of saying we listened to you guys, and we knew one of the big controversies was everyone wanted a Larry Boy movie since Jonah.
Yeah.
Because doesn't that seem like a great idea? And they never pursued it.
Yeah, like, it's a superhero movie. It's essentially like, making a Larry Boy movie would essentially be like, sort of like making the kid version of the Deadpool movie, like a superhero, or, well, Deadpool's not really a superhero.
He's an anti-hero.
You know what I mean. But, like, who's meant to be comedic, and it's not supposed to be, like, necessarily, like, a totally serious, like, it is serious, but, like, it's not centered around some serious action-y stuff, it's centered around being a goofy, weird superhero. That's what Larry Boy is, and there are so many things you could do with the Larry Boy movie, and this happened to be what we did, but, like, there is so much else that could be done with that, too.
Like, I'm considering doing another one of these, like, maybe at some point, because I think Larry Boy does work better in movie form.
Right.
Like, because stuff like The Fib, that was when they're starting to rumor weed. I don't really like that episode anyways. There's a lot of... It's a long story, but I'll explain that in an overrated episodes list, because a lot of people like it. I don't really like it. Bad Apple, I do think was really good, mostly because it was longer. League of Incredible Vegetables was just made to sell toys.
Yeah.
It's really obvious. But
there were some moments of it I thought were fine. Mostly, I'll say again, came from Mr. Lunt.
Mr. Lunt is like a wizard. He can do he and Mr. Nezer can... They're always like the best parts of bad episodes.
Phil actually said in the Wizard of Oz commentary that he said, the way he worded it is basically like, he has a little Mr. Lunt in him, and when he releases that, just funny things happen. And so, like, it's kind of like, when he's, like, writing all these stories that, like, you're just like, okay, they want me to write a fairy tale, but I'm just gonna have Mr. Lunt do funny things, because I can do that.
Let's do a lot of funny rubbish things! And I will admit, even though Mr. Nezer is my favorite character, Mr. Lunt, even though I don't play him, is always my favorite character to write for. Because he gets to do such versatile things like Mitch Telly or Alfonso, or...
He's always, like, my favorite character to record, too. He's so fun.
He always gets, like, the best lines. On Flute Work and Gary Platter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is, Deadly Seven. Deadly Seven, a lot of people were hyped for this one, and it did not disappoint. People seem to really like it. And I think that's really good. Because, well... this is what people wanted. And the one thing I'll say bad against Phil is it's so good he never thought of it. If you look at Me, Myself, and Bob, he talks all about the Bob and Larry movie. The Bob and Larry movie is going to be the Toy Story of VeggieTales, which, to be honest, that sounded awful. Like, it really sounded terrible. So I kind of have, like, real people in a VeggieTales movie.
Right, like...
Unless they were Jason and Michelle. That would have been a really cool tie-in.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I, like, think it... On paper, it sounds weird. I'm sure he had a good direction with it, but, like...
It kind of sounded like a Toy Story ripoff.
A little bit.
Like, and he never thought of a Larry Boy movie.
Right. At least not at the time. Who knows what he thought of after that.
But I just think this is one of those ideas that really needed to happen. And to be honest, I really think we were able to run with the concept.
Yeah. And I really like the idea of having, like, the 7 deadly sins as the big villains of the first Larry Boy movie. And it brought a lot of opportunity to have, like, Awful Alvin and the Bad Apple and Egomaniac back.
As well as Super Sloth, Raging Bull, the Deceiver, and Lampy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were like, who's the 7th member? But then even I do, and then I'm kind of like, oh yeah, Lampy, I forgot. So yeah, that's just kind of that, and I'd love to see a cover art for this one.
Yeah.
Because we never really got to see that, because...
Although the character designs for all of the new characters are awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, let's see, number 13, The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, Legend of the Diamond Pearl. We mentioned this one a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the first one where we knew what we were doing.
And also...
fully knew.
This is kind of what we were like... We kind of wrote this with kind of the mentality of what the Pirates movie should have been. Basically,
should have, would have, could have.
Basically, a Jonah prequel.
Mm-hmm. And it was, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. Like, there was the direct tie into, like, the, Cheese Curl, Mr. Nestor's Cheese Curl restaurant, and them not having money, and then them literally going on an epic quest for money to buy cheese curls. Mm-hmm. Same reason they left in Jonah.
And then, didn't they also introduce Khalil in this one? Like,
right.
They met him?
They met Khalil on the ship, and they didn't like him as much, necessarily, and Padre wanted him off the ship.
Mm-hmm. And then there was Scallion as the Hole of Horrors! Do you remember the Hole of Horrors?
Yes!
Can you explain the Hole of Horrors? To those who don't remember.
Okay, the scene there, they went through this tunnel kind of thing, the Hole of Horrors, and in it they, like, it was like they saw, it was basically they just saw nightmares, and they all just, like, turned into their Live and Reloaded.
Or, in the house.
Or, right, in the house.
They turned into the house, in the house phones, they're just like, what's... Ah! 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 And then they got a, I hate going in there.
Yep. And also, we had, what was his name? The guy, the potato guy.
Scary Gary.
Scary Gary. Oh, we haven't used him ever since.
He's kind of a little like Mad Marv, but I think it was a good one-off.
Right, yeah.
And he is scary looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the green one, we were worried people would compare this to Madame Blueberry. But, well, no, because it was a different direction. That was just thankless. This was like what happens when you don't pursue it.
Right.
This was like the be careful one.
Right.
And I really do think this felt like what the Pirates could have and should have been.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, the logo is even kind of the same.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember, this is the one we had to rewrite the most, because, like, there was a lot of stuff with the Long John Sliver character.
Oh, yeah.
That we had to change. I remember. Like, he was, like, specifically with his, turn to good, like, that was a little too rushed. Stuff like that. But this one was one of them we had to edit the most, but I really felt that was good, because it also really helped us realize what standards we needed.
Right.
And also Chuck came after this, so I think that kind of showed something. But,
yeah.
spoiler alert, it's high on the list, but you can already tell because we're already at, like, what, 13? But yes, this is a kind of an easy one to talk about, because really it just explains itself.
Right. This one, I'd almost kind of picture with, like, the, not modern, as in the...
Ugly.
Yeah.
In the ugly. VeggieTales in the ugly.
It's not like that animation, but like kind of the, I guess, like Beauty and the Beat, like that era of animation. I kind of picture it more like that. Mm-hmm. Just kind of, that's what, or even just like the Pirates movie.
Because this really does feel like a modern episode.
Right.
Coming right off of one that was kind of dark and weird. And so, yes, that was The Pirates. Pretty simple to describe, but an episode that we just felt was good all around, right?
Yep.
Now, as we're pretty much at the halfway point, let's also acknowledge another honorary one, Zyler and Kraz's Radexo Canadian Adventure. Our April Fool's Day joke where we pretended we were going to release a special episode, and then we just released nonsense.
The whole thing was just random improvised nonsense. We knew what a couple plot points and characters were gonna be here and there, but in terms of what actually happened, it was all just.
The reason this isn't on the list is because it's not an episode.
No,
it's really not.
It's not at
all.
all.
VeggieTales doesn't have it doesn't have Spanky Ham, Captain Hero, Board of Education. It doesn't have the Penguin. It doesn't have Daddy Derek. It doesn't have Chef Excellent. It doesn't have any of the IJLSA. It certainly doesn't have Zyler and Kraz.
Other than Lampy.
And Lampy, yes.
Yeah.
And we had to start this over so much because we couldn't edit it out because that's why you can still hear a lot of accidents, laughing and stuff. Because it's improvised, and it's meant to be terrible. But the Chef Excellence part, we had to start over. We counted 6 times. The Chef Excellence, contrary to his name, he's not a chef, but a superpowered being from another dimension who is sent to, suck up evil into his Stay Fresh evil bags. And then there's, the Daddy Derek car lot thing where he's gonna club a seal if you don't buy a car.
It's so morbid.
Yeah. And then there's, the save money thing, which, there's a backstory to that.
Right, we were at the fair. And there was this. I think we were just kind of improvising random nonsense, just kind of seeing what direction Zyler and Kraz would just go. And I think there was just a plane with one of those banners behind it with it
was a Geico one,
right? The Geico Gecko, and it said save money, and they're oh, and we were just oh no, money has been captured. We need to save him.
And then it was John Money.
John Money.
And then he was okay, so it's oh cool, he's in, and it was the whole point is they couldn't get back into the border. And they end up getting involved in the Board of Education scheme, which was never solved.
Oh, that was so fun.
We were gonna do another one for April Fool's, Zyler and Kraz on the road to Tipperary, but I think we just kind of forgot.
Yeah, and also just kind of schedules didn't line up to be able to do that before April 1st.
Because that was Avenue Q, no.
Beauty and the Beast would have just ended around that, or not Beauty and the Beast, Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that's the one because you were too busy with Wizard.
And also, I'd broken my leg, a bit before that.
Yeah, that one helps. So, anyway, Zyler and Kraz, it's not a real episode, so please don't acknowledge it as a real one. So, number 12, the show must go on.
Similar to God wants me to forgive them. Or are you my neighbor?
Are you my neighbor? Or where's God when I'm scared? I'm glad they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. But yeah.
So what are your favorite VeggieTales episodes? I like Rack, Shack, and Benny. I like Loud, the Kindly Viking, and God Wants Me to Forgive Them.
Although we kind of did it here. Although it was just, the show must go on.
Yeah, the show must go on. How do we come up with that name? That's just a driving force of Cavus and Millward.
Right, even though they never said it in an Easter Carol. But an Easter Carol wasn't about them. It was about Nezer.
Yeah. I felt this was good.
Yeah.
End the series, because they actually, as I didn't know this at the time, they were planning on doing a third.
Oh wow!
Down the road, they didn't know what holiday, but this was New Year's, right?
Right.
And it's not about the true meaning of New Year's. That was stupid, but that would be stupid. But so personally, my favorite part is Guistabo and the Land of Butter.
That was Rattle Rocket was so fun.
Based off of Ralph Bakshi. People are begging, pleading for him to come back, but sorry, he was just a one-off. It's like bringing hope back.
Right.
He was just kind of there.
I mean, I think either we did or they actually did in Canon VeggieTales. I can't remember, but I think Hope made a random cameo somewhere, or at least her little.
Yeah, they did
thing.
that.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you can't really do that with him because he doesn't live inside the little wind-up music box.
You can make an orange one. But yeah, I liked him. He was really fun to do. But actually, funny enough, there was a really racist line that we actually had to cut because I didn't realize this was really racist until like we did it. Like the line, "You don't have any talents." If you wonder why that is cut, it's like it sounds so abrupt, because it was, "You don't have any talents. You're a carrot." That was the original line, and I was like, even in there, we paused and like, okay, we're cutting that out. Because, like, saying that out loud was embarrassing. But I really like another thing is that all the references we put to Star Christmas and Easter Carol.
Right.
Like, we're not going anywhere until you do it. I'm not doing it. Do it. For Happy Jills and Happy Jacks, use Sterling's famous dental wax. Nah, that's a winner.
Yeah. And the constant reference to, like, can we rehearse at your house? You're not going to blow it up, are you?
Yeah.
And since they've blown up just about every building they've gone in.
How is London still there?
I don't know.
And then there's like the Uncle Nezzer with like the line that they're not allowed to cross. What? Get out! Get away from the line! And the banker returns.
Yeah.
I love the banker. The banker is like one of my favorite parts of that duology, now trilogy.
Yeah. This is so hilarious.
He does nothing, but he's just so funny.
And they, in Easter Carol, in the opening number, when Archibald has this line, "I celebrate with tea and cake. It's a British way for me." Aha! They say in the commentary, that was originally going to be the banker.
Wow.
And then they were like, no, we can't have him talk. That would just ruin him. Just have him be Archie. It fits Archie better anyways. Just keep the banker being some silent weirdo.
And I do feel like the story was really well done. This is another really simple one, but it just kind of speaks for itself.
Right.
It was so fun to write for Cavus and Millward because they were established characters. And Effie Pickering was back, and St. Bart's Church was back. This was like one of the most nostalgic times I've ever had writing an episode.
Right. Oh man, I really want to go back and watch the Star of Christmas and Easter Carol.
I really do. So,
it's been a while since I've watched them.
Number 11, A Town Called Slackerville.
The Lazy Town episode.
The one that has the least staying power because the meme is over, but we have no regrets.
Yeah.
Now, Lazy Town was on its way out at this part, but it's actually kind of coming back now that Robbie Rotten is dying.
Yes.
I'm voting for that statue, by the way. I really want that statue. But this one, we've already told the story millions of times, so long story short, we were just messing around. We thought we had a good idea. We listened to you guys. You almost unanimously voted for it. We decided to put a spin on it, and we released it. Yep. But it had two segments. Pecos Bill first.
Pecos Bill, it was good. It was a little bit forgettable. Sometimes I forget it was there. But it was really fun.
Yeah, it did have a lot of good stuff in it. Like, like all the lazy jokes I thought was really fun, but it just gets blown away by Slackerville.
Right, yeah.
That was so funny.
I really also just want to imagine like Slackerville in animation because I mean Lazy Town by itself is just really bright and colorful because it's just a kids show, but like I feel like seeing that with VeggieTales characters would just, since the characters are already so colorful, it would just look really cool.
First, let's talk about the so far fan favorite part, Icky Ricky.
Icky Ricky.
I'm Icky Ricky! First of all, a lot of people loved my Robbie Rotten impression in VeggieTales Abridged radio special. So I wanted to bring it back, and how do you think I'd do for that? Hi, Robbie Rotten! I am Robbie Rotten! We'll do it a little bit of a different voice. And maybe if they ever brought Lazy Town back, I could do it and help people be lazy.
Nice.
But I really wanted to do Icky Ricky, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, can you put like the Mine Song in there or put We Are Number One?" It was like, well, we already did a We Are Number One, but it's a little predictable. But we had lines to that.
Right. I mean, Stingy's character is obviously going to say mine a lot.
Remember he said, like, everything is mine from this mailbox to that triagonal sign. Don't you mean triangular? I'm rich. I can make up words.
Yeah.
Then there was also, the casting, I think, was really good on that.
Right. Larry was just... We instantly kind of knew when we were thinking about it. It's like, Larry's going to be Stingy.
Mine.
Like, just if you just listen to their voices, like, they're not identical, but they're close enough that it's like, yep, that's it.
Jimmy is Ziggy.
Yep, that was a... Whenever I picture that, I picture Jimmy's costume that he had in the
Superhero?
Right, yeah, that. Which was a decent silly song. It was passable.
And then
It wasn't
I remember
bad.
we were having this huge problem on who we were gonna have sport a flippity flop, but Nezra won out, and I think that kind of was better. Wasn't
Right.
Lunt the mayor?
Lunt was the mayor.
Oh, that was great. He was mowing his lawn, and it was like turf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think this one was one of the funniest, I think. Mm-hmm. It just had so many funny jokes in there.
Right. And it was just kind of... just felt really, like... really just, like, upbeat and just, like, bright and cheerful.
And even though we did put a spin on it, like a really veggie spin, like...
Right.
I also think that VeggieTales could really do an episode like this, but it did feel like an episode of Lazy Town. Like,
Right.
it actually did feel like something they would do.
Right. It felt like an episode of VeggieTales, but it also felt like an episode of Lazy Town. And it's like, I felt like it was a good balance of both.
Specifically the energy. This is one of the highest energy episodes we've ever had.
Right.
Yeah, this out of all the ones that don't have a cover art, this and the Cucurama ones are the ones I want to see the most. So if Isabella, if you're still out there, please. But yeah, that would be... yeah, this one was a lot of fun. A lot of funny recording it.
Yeah.
And I'm still thinking of a way Icky Ricky could come back. So, number 10, The Blessed Gift. Wow, an early one.
We're in our top 10.
Yeah, top 10. Here we go. Number 10, The Blessed Gift.
Our first Christmas one.
And our first one with, like, no countertop, really.
Right.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have told the manger story, like the nativity. You thought they would have told that, like, years ago.
Yeah.
I know, the Jesus thing, but we got around that.
I mean,
Don't show him.
he's in a manger, so just have a glowing light come out of it and you're good.
Mm-hmm. Now, this one was another really fun one. I loved the wise men. The wise men were great. The shepherds that were Junior, Jimmy, Jerry, and Tom.
Yep. Nice callback there.
Patricia and Orlando.
Oh, yep.
Remember those guys?
Yep.
Fan characters created by Alex Lovell. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Loved those characters. Been constantly looking for a place to put them back. Still haven't found a place, but don't worry, they'll be back soon. They'll be back soon. Orlando was kind of like Pesto from Animaniacs a little.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Patricia was kind of like Mabel Pines, which was pretty cool.
Right.
This is probably the last one on the list, but it's like a really simple one that's kind of easy to talk about.
Uh-huh.
It's just the story of Christmas.
Yeah. And I really liked the way it went. It was just... it stayed true to the biblical story. It felt veggie enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Was...
sorry. What were you saying?
Go on. I don't even know.
Also, it wasn't even just another, the meaning of Christmas. It was the story of sacrifice.
Right.
Because there was a lot on the line.
Right.
But the first person I always cast was Herod. Obviously, Nezra was going to be Herod.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was great. I loved him as Herod, but ultimately, what else can I say? It's just the blessed gift. It's so simple to talk about, sorry. But I can promise you, this next one will not be simple. Eddie Woodley, the artist who never gave up, is number 9. Remember when we were so scared we were never going to top this, but then it turns out there was 8 ahead of it? But what a first episode to start off with.
Oh, it was so fun. And that's not just the nostalgia talking. I mean, nostalgia's a big part of it, but that's not just in the nostalgia talking. Like, it holds up really well.
The only complaint I have is that I say well too much as Archibald. That's it. Other than that, no problems. You can tell this was our first, but we don't... I don't care. It's so funny.
Yeah.
This started off as a joke. Like, we were starting off, like, talking about, like, hey, because we just saw the movie Ed Wood, and we really liked it, and we're like, hey, what if there was a VeggieTales Ed Wood? I mean, like, if they actually pulled their heads out of their butts long enough to do that. And they were deciding, like, who would be who, and then, like, hey, you know what, this will be fun, I'll write an episode, and then, like, a couple days later, I showed you, and then you're like, wow, this is good, we should read this, and then we did, and then this was born.
Yep.
Because this is one of them, specifically because this was the first, that feels the most like an actual episode of VeggieTales.
Yeah. It had so many great moments that were just so veggie. I think a big part of that is Jimmy and Jerry. I feel like whenever Jimmy and Jerry are there, they just make it feel veggie-ish. Mm-hmm. And just overall, just everything kind of fell into place just perfectly. And it had another top 10 moment. What's the matter?
Look out the window!
The window?
Yes. You're all interested in where we are spending, next page, the rest of our lives. Next page. That's
a really short page.
Yeah. That was also one of the first times I ever used my actual Archibald voice, because VeggieTales Abridged, I used a voice that kind of sounded more like Scallion too, a little bit of Vincent Price mixed in.
Scallion 1?
Yeah, Scallion 1 and Vincent Price mixed together. And it sounded like that. But ultimately, I just decided to mimic him one day, and then I was surprised with how it came out, so if it wasn't for that, you actually would probably be reading Archibald right now, and how would that sound?
Well, it would be alright, but not quite the same.
Well, thank you. I mean, I put a lot of work into my Archibald one. I am the very model of a modern Major General. I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the considering on the course of facts historical, and marathon, all I gotta go. I'm very well acquainted with all matters mathematical. I understand the question both simple and quadratical. About my new theorem, I'm teaming with a lot of news. Let's see what the many trivial facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Yes, I went there. There's a lot of really strange jokes in here, but they worked. But they're the kind of jokes where, like, okay, what can we get away with?
Right.
But
because it is the story of Ed Wood, which is not particularly a kid story.
Yeah, but I think we pulled it off.
Right.
Like I thought he was dead jokes were really funny, but they weren't. I thought he was dead.
Right.
They were different. Mr. Yes was great.
That was a very good Nezzer Lunt pairing role. Those are always fun, having Nezzer and Lunt.
Yeah, I forgot. We made a behind the scenes one of this, but we talked a lot about it, but it certainly beats the Ugly Man. I don't know what I was thinking of that.
That actually would be a really funny April Fool's one.
Maybe it's like, oh, maybe after Silent Crest and the Tipperary, Silent Crest take on the Ugly Man.
Postman Pat,
Postman Pat, Postman Pat. Yeah, you're never gonna see that in earnest.
Oh my gosh, we actually sort of built up a kind of decent story with an actual legitimate moral around it. But
I do plan on using that moral for something else, just not that.
But at the same time, it was just so ridiculous.
Yeah, but if that never came to be, we never would have had Eddie Woodley.
That's true.
Yeah, and it was Eddie Woodley. It is nostalgic, and that plays a huge factor in it. But ultimately,
it's just
so loved, really. And also, the first cover art we got, I remember this was around time Sporky the Stone we got it, and you were talking about, like, hey, you know, if this was smaller, like, looking at it in the small version, it's almost like we're looking at it on, like, what was it, FamilyChristianBookstore.com or something? It was, like, something you could see on there, which, God rest Family Christian Bookstore soul, now going out of business.
And I also remember, this was really fun, we spent, like, 15 minutes trying to figure out what, like, the big planet was.
Yes!
Like there was like this green circle and we like couldn't figure out what it was.
And then we felt really stupid going, oh, that's a planet. Duh. Like, we felt so stupid because, like, it's so obvious, but we didn't see it.
So, I don't know what it was like, what is it? Is it like a bouncy ball? Is it like...
I thought that was like, at first I thought it was just like a growth or something. Or like
Pot Grape is sitting on, like, I don't know.
But, like, that's funny. Not your fault, Isabel. That was ours. We were just being kind of stupid.
We brain farted a lot. It was big time. It was funny, though. Yeah,
we just got back from, like, a 3-hour swim, so we were kind of tired, but we were marveling at it.
It's just like, this is so cool. What is it? And then, like, 15 minutes later, oh, it's a planet! Oh!
We get straight A's, we promise. And then, there's the squid thing, which is funny in the original, and it was funny here. Planet 9 from Distant Space. I want to watch this again now.
I do too.
It was, oh man, so fun. Anything else about Eddie Woodley?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Okay, so number 8, the fantabulous Sherry Dawkins, which has not been released yet. If you do not want spoilers, skip to this time. So
yep.
Sherry Dawkins.
You've been warned, so spoilers are coming.
Yep. Diddle 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 I diddle 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 I diddle 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 I diddle 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 I. I was in Mary Poppins,
I
I
saw it and it was awesome.
Thank you, and I was Admiral Boom Boom Boom, Admiral Boom Boom Boom.
Well, sadly, in that version, didn't have as big a part.
My director told me that out of all the roles in this part, I was the one who was, in her own words, circumcised the most. Because she's like, he has a huge part in the books and a pretty big part in the movies. I have no idea why they decided to do this to him, but I need you to make up for that. I need you to make it huge. Make people remember you like he should, because he should be in more of this.
I don't know if it was just personal bias, because I, know you, but I remembered it really well. It was really fun.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. And also, it was really nice flirting with Ms. Locke.
Yes, that was funny.
I loved that. And so, the fantabulous Sherry Dawkins.
Based off of Mary Poppins, of course. Which, if you've seen that, then you should be good on spoilers, too.
Yeah. Which, it's pretty much the same, just a few things taken out and a few things, rearranged in order. We still have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, only it's, what was it?
Riboflavus, Belterific, Hypoalafracus.
Yes, Riboflavus, Belterific, Hypoalafracus. Yep. Riboflavus, Belterific, Hypoalafracus.
Excuse me, you there. What is the most fun word you can think of?
Well, I'd probably say Riboflavus, Belterific, Hypoalafracus.
Yes, I would agree that Riboflavus, Belterific, is the most fun word.
This is also the one we've had the most mess-ups on.
Yes, that's true.
That we've had to fix. It was rough. But also,
I mean, when you've got Riboflavus, Belterific, Hypoalafracus, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. The ending of this one is so dark.
We were really testing the waters.
Yeah, the bird lady dies, just like in the...
I mean, at least it's implied.
Yeah. In the movie, it's also implied, because, when George comes back from the bank, she's gone, and so are the birds.
You can interpret that as she just was really sick and went to the hospital. You can interpret... But I really like how it doesn't say either way. We don't say, oh no, she died. This is the consequences of your actions. You killed someone. But it's not like, oh, it's okay, she's just sick, but she'll be fine. So I really like how it's just ambiguous, and you just don't know, and it's just like, what?
Yeah. And during that scene, I could just picture, the instrumental for Feed the Birds going on, early each day at the steps of St. Paul, the little bird woman calls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just, a little instrumental. There is one thing, we said this in the intro video, but, this is more based off of the books and play than the movie. Because the characters like Northbrook and, Von Hustler are not actually in the movie. They are in the books and the musical. But Von Hustler was funny in this one.
Yeah.
He was going to poison the water supply with Spam.
Wasn't it originally Scallion 1?
Yes.
And then we changed it to Mad Marv, because that just makes sense, because he's a total scam artist.
Yeah. Yeah, well, good old Mad Marv. We haven't used him in a long time before that.
Yeah.
And then the one right after that, he was using that too. Also, I really like Miss Akhmetha as Sherry Dawkins.
Yes. It was really awesome to give her such a big role.
She was the Guardian, and then now she was Dawkins. One of the things I was really surprised with was, it was originally going to be Petunia, but one of the things I wanted to follow P.L. Travers' wishes, because Nancy and Poppins, we had to do a lot of studying up on our characters and the backstory of Mary Poppins, because the backstory is even more amazing than the story itself. They went through a nightmare to get that movie going, because P.L. Travers was so protective, but to be honest, I was on her side the whole time, because I totally get where she's coming from.
Right.
But she never wanted Mary to be bright and cheery and happy and stuff, so we made her a lot more down-to-earth and straight in this one. Admiral Boom, I loved him in this one as
it was hilarious.
Captain Kaboom and Mr. Barnacle. Don't look lively now, time for the morning procedures. It was wonderful. I loved that, and especially, it did, however, break the tradition of Archibald always playing the character that I was. because he was Mr. Salt in Chuck, Willy Wonka. He was underling in Guardian, Drowsy Chaperone. But now he was George Banks. I wasn't George Banks. I was Admiral Boom, 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 Boom.
Yep. Would we have done Parkway V, that trend would have continued to be broken.
Yeah, well, he would have been Rod.
Mm-hmm. In my case, since the only one that we've actually done was just the nerd, it would have just been Larry. And then for Wizard of Oz, I mean...
non-applicable.
There was a P. There was a P. It was the mayor. But, yeah, so that didn't fit. And then...
there's no Benvolio in...
Duke and the Great
Duke and the Great Pie
which
War.
is loosely... it's mostly Ruth.
And when we remake Beauty and the Beast, because now that we have unlimited episodes, we're actually going to do it. We don't know who's going to be Fish Merchant. My guess is, I think that'll be a really good role for Larry. Or Feldzig, actually.
It could be Feldzig. I was also thinking, it might be, I might do Scooter. I don't know why, but I think it'd be really funny to have Scooter.
Bow down to the fish!
To just have Scooter with a bunch of fish.
You'll bite fish!
He has no significance to the story, but I was in the ensemble and I was the fisherman, and I'm like, I'm gonna go crazy with this character, so I made him this fish cultist.
But I think the lesson was really good with Sherry Dawkins.
Yep.
Making decisions! See? Look, we always criticize Dorby's for its terrible lesson, but then we remembered our motto, any lesson can be done if it's taught well.
Right. Which, the problem with Dorby's making decisions is, they didn't talk about how to make decisions, or why you have to make decisions, or when you have to make decisions, or what to do when you have to make decisions. It was just, make good decisions. In other words, the lesson was, don't sin. That was the lesson of Dorby's.
It's like they knew they were only going to last one episode and just decided to paint it all with a broad stroke.
Yeah.
That's just sad. But, this one, they paid more attention. It got a lot more heart into it.
It was how to make decisions, why you should, really pay attention to your decisions and make good ones.
And then it shows
what can happen.
Yeah, it shows the consequences of both good and bad ones. With good with the children, Jane and Michael, those aren't their actual names in this one, but then the bad ones with Mr. Banks.
Right.
And then what will ultimately happen if you stray too far away. Mm-hmm. And also there's like the twist where he blames the kids for incident for him getting fired, but it turns out that wasn't it at all.
Right. I feel like in terms of tone, this one is really similar to An Easter Carol. Almost you've got the same thing. You've got the kind of down-to-earth, somewhat snarky female. He's kind of teaching lessons. And then you've got the kind of uppity businessman. Business.
Precision and order, that's all that I ask.
Exactly. And then when that's all he cares about and puts that in front of feelings and all that, everything comes just crashing down, and he's just like, oh no, this is bad.
Speaking of crashing down, there was a deleted scene in here because originally Mr. Phillips and Mrs. Dillard were a lot more like the actual Mrs. Brill and Robertson I. Mm-hmm. And there was going to be a huge subplot thing. There was going to be that part where it's I'll get the to make the icing you need the tools and a bowl of hot water to warm them, and I will make the icing when I get back. You remember that part, right? Yeah. So the spoonful of sugar scene. It was there was gonna be that, but it kind of took away focus.
Uh-huh.
So and really
it would have been a little kind of strange. It'd be a little odd for Bob.
Yeah, I felt that with Robertson I is a huge dunce. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't feel right for Bob to do it.
Right.
And Bob couldn't have fit in any other role.
Right. It would have been kind of like his role in Beauty and the Beast, which, for the record, his role is very hilarious.
Oh, I loved it, but it was not Bob.
It was not a Bob role. His line, I have all your albums.
I only have one album.
And I have it. It's hilarious.
We were watching it for the first time going in oh, this is going to be garbage, but I think we accidentally skipped to that part first, and we were
right.
We saw that and we were laughing so hard, because that's something you would have seen in the early ones.
Yeah, but it just wasn't a Bob line. It was hilarious. Could have been a Jimmy line or a Larry line or something.
It's also the voice that really helps too.
Right. And I have it. That's how excited he was.
I have all your albums. We only have one album, and I have it.
I have it.
So that's Sherry Dawkins. It's not out yet, but it's going to be the next one soon. And so what else can we say about precision and order? He wants nothing less. It's like an army barracks, and we're in a mess.
Spoilers are officially ending now.
For now. But only for now. Only for now.
Your hair
is only for now. Yeah, we can't say the rest. Number 7. You're going to kind of take the helm on this one. The Oddball.
Hey.
The Story of Rick Stemsford.
Only 7? The one I wrote is obviously number 1.
Actually, we agreed on every position for this one.
Yeah, we did.
Hey, this is not the only one he's writing. He is currently finishing up McBob.
Yup. McBob.
Which should be out sometime next year.
Yes, it is. But it's a fun one. I like that one.
But this is one, the Oddball.
This was the first one I wrote.
First of all, a little compliment for him. This one is so in tune with the original script. I thought he lifted like a lot of sequences directly from it.
There were some
like word for word.
I think there were only a couple lines that I lifted. But overall, the basic plot and a lot of occurrences are the same. But lines, not so much. But yeah, this was based off of the first play I was in at my school, The Nerd, by Larry Shue, which ended up being Larry's character name. Like, his real character, since, you know, he was acting.
This was a really funny one.
It was really fun to write, especially having been in it. Having been Larry's character, The Nerd, was really fun to do, and then kind of to go back and write kind of in a Larry... writing that same character, but in a Larry VeggieTales form. And then, I think one of my favorite things for this, I actually, when I'm writing the McBob's... So, there's a thing McBob... Or, no, not McBob. Just Bob does. And I've officially dubbed it the porcupine scream. The... that kind of two-toned scream.
No, like, that was bad.
It's like... like, specifically when he gets hit with the porcupine. And I put that in the script a couple times for McBob as porcupine scream.
I'm going to have to do that better after I've not used my voice so much, because we just recorded GP3.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I love doing that and just kind of having Bob this beast that, I mean, it fits so well. The casting for this one was just another one of those where everything just fell perfectly into place.
It did. And this was the one we've done based on the most obscure source material, but no regrets.
Right. The only, like, character that I feel like, not like the casting didn't work, but like, it was a little odd, was the fact that, I can't even remember if I went with Lovey or Mabel.
You went Lovey.
Lovey, right. As, Nezer's wife, which is a little odd because Lovey's always been Archibald's wife. And since Lovey is just such a minor character, it kind of felt a little funny. But at the same time, she worked for the role as being a hyper-stressed, high-strung trophy wife.
I liked Uncle Ed. That was great.
Uncle Ed, yeah, he had a nice cameo.
You have an Uncle Ed? Well, he's not my uncle, but I'm sure he's somebody's uncle. It also has my favorite silly song we've done, the Mailbox Blues.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the alien. Take me to your leader. Oh man, it'll never come. Yossi loses.
Yossi.
Man. Yossi loses.
Yeah, so that one was definitely fun on the writing and recording stage.
Really, this one was just an all-around fun time.
Right. I would definitely, to label this one in a word, would be just, it was just fun.
It's just a fun one.
Right.
It's got a good lesson of standing up for yourself, which is something they've only done with peer pressure, but this isn't a peer pressure one.
Right.
This is just say no.
Right.
As the cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue says, there's a million billion wonderful ways to say no. Hate that thing.
Like, basically, to put it totally plainly and not lightly at all, the lesson in this is stop being a doormat.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't be a doormat. That's the... Yeah.
Don't be a doormat, it's Christmas.
What?
It's a don't be a jerk, it's Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Number 6. Number 6. So, this is The Grolts and the Spirit of Christmas.
Our second Christmas episode.
And,
I mean, if you're at all good at math, you've probably figured this out, but our favorite of the two Christmas episodes. I mean, most people could probably figure that out.
We probably won't do another one because there's not much to do with Christmas anymore. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Winter we couldn't do. We can do winter themed ones.
Ninja Bread Man.
Or even just like stories that don't have anything to do with winter, but just take place in winter.
Ninja Bread Man goes to Greenland. Starring Sturley Stimbleburgess as the Duchess, and Greta Servant traveled by the rest of Constable Sonnerbach at the Funmanshire. And guest starring, what was his name? Chris Tucker as Abraham Lincoln. Oh, heck no, I ain't going to no Gettysburg!
So, yeah, this one, Mr. Nezzer as the Grinch, or the Graltz, was just so funny, I feel like.
People keep asking me where I came up with the name, the Graltz. I don't know, I have no idea.
It sounds kind of like the Grinch.
The Graltz.
Yeah.
So then there was all that.
We had the Archibald and Khalil duet. That was fun.
Also very fun. There was the Cindy Lou stuff, which was pretty good. I really like, I was originally going to do this all in rhyme, but it really got annoying.
Right, it would have been hard to do this whole thing in rhyme.
And it would have felt too much like the original short.
Uh-huh. And it would have also... I think you either have to go all the way rhyming, but then if you can't go not rhyming, but then make a joke out of rhyming at one point, because then you just get the Jim Carrey version.
Ew. I loved the makeup and I loved the sets. That's it.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey did a good job, just not as the Grinch. He did a good job as,
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he did a good job as the Vela Grumble or whatever, not the Grinch.
It was basically How Jim Carrey Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey as Jim Carrey.
With green.
As green Jim Carrey, basically.
That should be the new VeggieTales character, Green Jim Carrey.
It's literally just Jim Carrey, but he's green.
And it's not even animated, it's Photoshop.
He's not even a vegetable. And he's just in scale with all the vegetables, but he's just a person.
Yeah, he's not even close to the same voice. So, and wasn't Max Mr. Lunt in this?
Yep.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a dog.
I thought that was really funny.
That was fun. Another great Nezzer Lunt duo.
Mm-hmm. And it was just basically like you mixed the original Chuck Jones short with Phil Fisher and Mike Naraki's writing.
Yeah.
There's all the jokes about him stealing. This is one that could have really benefited from some animation, but it's basically just a nice, fun, heartwarming story that had a lot of laughs.
Yep.
It was a pretty memorable one, too. But I kind of want to do it again, but I wouldn't change anything. I just want to record it again, just because it was so fun. Mm-hmm. I remember we got up one day and we were just like, okay, let's do it. And then we just had a blast. And we're like, can we do this again? Because, it was a good read-through, but can we do it again? It was so fun.
Yeah. And all the songs, or the few songs, there weren't too many songs, but the songs were all really fun. How many? It took us a few tries to do the last song. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it came out all right.
Right, yeah.
And still, I really like this one. It's a really nice Christmas one. This is basically the one where we knew what we're doing, but The Blessed Gift was still a really good one.
Right.
It was really tough to decide between them, ultimately. But in the end, we just kind of ended on this one. So, number 5, Gone and Back Again.
Ooh, we're in the top 5.
Top 5. Gone and Back Again. I didn't expect this one to get so high up until we, acted in this. Until we recorded it.
I remember when I was reading it, I was just... okay, I can't remember if it was... Because I remember there was a certain point, and I think it was actually just when I was reading it, I just loved it. This one was one that I just loved right off the bat. Maybe it's because I'm just kind of a nerd and I like fantasy stuff.
But one of the things I strived so hard to do was make a good prequel to Lord of the Beans above all else.
Right, yeah, which definitely, it all fit really well. Especially having the ending with him actually directly telling Toto the story.
Mm-hmm. And then there was also the ahem parts.
Yep.
Those are one of my favorite parts, and we put everything in there. I rewatched Lord of the Beans 3 times to make sure I got everything. Mm-hmm. Scary Man wasn't in it, but he didn't need to be. He wasn't in The Hobbit anyways.
Right. So, yeah, that would have not needed to be there.
Yeah, and I liked all the 7 dwarves.
Right.
They weren't even actually dwarves. They were just, like, people who thought that'd be a cool name.
The only, like, concern, which actually I really did enjoy this, but it was, like, a thing that, like, oh, this is really fun, but it is also maybe a teensy red flag, is Soaring Eagle was, like, such a jerk. Like, there are, like, just... I think there's like 1 or 2 moments where it's like, let's make him slightly less jerky, just right there. Just like a couple lines that we adjusted.
Yeah, a whispery sleazy was great.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Smog. And also the guards who like caught off with like the cappuccino machine.
Yep.
And the trolls, the internet trolls.
Oh, I think that's probably my favorite part.
The Emoji Movie stole our idea. Because we came out before the Emoji Movie. They stole our idea.
I mean, they were probably, like, writing it. Actually, you know what? They probably just wrote it, like, a few days before they were going to release it.
They probably had the animation done ahead of time, then wrote a script around it.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, that was one of the favorite parts. You were dumb. You were dumb. You were stupid.
Just trolls.
Yeah. Troll, troll, troll.
As opposed to the actual trolls.
Exactly. I really felt like he really shined as and happy. So I'm just saying as Billboy in this one.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It was fun to bring that back. Randolph was great as always.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the bean didn't do much.
Right.
Like,
it wasn't like
just like in The Hobbit.
Right. It was there. They brought it up, but it didn't really like throw the story too much. It affected things, but it didn't completely change the story. Just like The Hobbit.
I really hope you guys appreciate this, because I'm not much of a Lord of the Rings guy. I haven't seen the original trilogy, and I had to sit through The Hobbit in all one sitting, and I don't like those movies. I like the first one decently. The second one was just kind of meh. I hate the third one.
The third one, and the second one to a lesser extent, but still, yeah, basically just exists so they could get paid.
Yeah, it's just...
The original ones are so good.
They
are really long and kind of just thick and kind of hard to sit through, especially if you do the extended versions or like in one sitting. But they're still so good. I love them.
I'm definitely gonna sit down and watch them one of these days.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it in one day.
Oh no, yeah. I'm never doing that again.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but for what this one was, I felt this was really well done, and I thought this was an extremely good step. And we recorded this back to back with Slumbering, which guess what's next? Not that one, because that's still coming up. So this is one of our 2 ties. Number 5, the Futurama episodes. We couldn't pick one. This one,
right? Or no, this is 4.
Yeah, number 4. Sorry. Both Futuramas, we couldn't decide.
Right.
Because they both have the same good elements. So many people have commented, specifically on the first one, that it really feels like a Futurama episode.
It feels like... It's similar to Slackerville. It feels so much like a Futurama episode, even though I've never really watched that much Futurama, aside from a few little bits here and there. But just kind of the humor's the same, except for not, like, raunchy at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it also feels so much like a VeggieTales episode.
It really does.
If I, like, since I haven't seen much Futurama, I can attest to this, like, I can, like, I'd hardly think, like, oh, this is directly based off of an adult cartoon. It just feels like VeggieTales, but yet it feels like Futurama.
And then the designs were wonderful. And in fact, like I said, I mentioned that coincidence. She created those designs and didn't have any idea we were already writing that episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
And they just look so great.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lunt is still my favorite. His Ben design is so great. I love it.
The Crabberg design is my personal favorite, because the Ben one is my second favorite, but that Crabberg design is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Crabberg is my favorite character in the Futurama series because he's just so useless and dumb. Hooray, I'm doing something!
Also, I just have to say that Paul, Larry, and Petunia, like, their designs, even though they're not as just, since, like, Crabberg and Ben both just, like, stand out as just looking so great, since they're kind of abnormal, and Paz is kind of a little abnormal, too, and that stands out also, but, like, I'd actually especially say Larry and Petunia just look so, like, so right, It, like, they look so much like the Futurama counterparts, but it just, like, fits them perfectly.
It looks so good. And
Right.
This isn't the end for Futurama. We're going to do more. Cube drama. But I think these lessons were great. Incorporating Robot Devil in the second one was a little bit of a risk.
Right. I mean, because it's a devil.
But we hit it well with RD Sabub.
Right.
Get it?
I mean,
Sabub, BL, Sabub.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone got that.
I didn't get it until you just said that. I knew there was something. I knew Sabub was something. I didn't even pick up on the fact that it was Robot Devil until we were doing the intro, I think.
Yeah, you're like, wait, that's Robot Devil?
It's like, oh, RD, I get it now.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, why is it RD? Like, what's RD? I don't know.
Robot Devil.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the episode that was kind of mimicking, you'd understand it more. But then the first one I have more fond memories with, but the second one is definitely catching up there. Because it uses the popular Uncle and Aunt Miriam ones. Oh, and they actually found out we used them and they got happy with us.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Not Ed, because Ed's dead, unfortunately, God rest his soul. Wonderful man. But Miriam actually found out and she was actually really happy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she watched the first one. I don't know if she's seen the second one yet. But
that's really cool.
Yeah, that was nice to see. And yeah, it was good to make them that happy. And these ones are one of the funniest we've done. Yeah, it's just constant laugh.
At all corners, like it
never stops.
Another top 10 moment is the 3-2-1 Penguins.
Yes!
In the first one,
that just came to me. Like I'm like, okay, we're in space. 3-2-1 Penguins.
Yeah.
All speed ahead.
That was so great.
Bonsai!
Like, say what you will about 3-2-1 Penguins, it had its ups and downs, it had its great moments, and it had its moments where it's just like, but just the cameo there was just like, so funny.
It really was.
It was so great.
Both of these were a laugh a minute and just a boatload of fun. So, next one, The Slumbering Guardian. Who would have guessed this one would have been so high? Not me.
Well, when I was reading it, it was obvious this was one of our best. It was just something about this one just struck me as just like it's so unique and yet felt like it just fits so much. Like, just like when you think of the premise of The Drowsy Chaperone, you don't think, oh, that's perfect for a VeggieTales. But like,
you really don't.
But like when I watched it for the first time, like at that point I knew we had like one in the works for it. But like I was watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, this it just is. You just slide it right into that VeggieTales zone, and it's there. The characters are all right there.
Oh, okay. So here are my favorites. Alfonso, the great Alfonso.
Alfonso's the only Mr. Lunt role that has rivaled Mitch Telly as my favorite Mr. Lunt role, although Mitch Telly still tops it because I just love that. That was just
this
so
is like
fun.
a close second.
But this is a close second. That was just so fun. I loved it.
I also love the bankers.
Yes. I mean, when I was just watching it, like, again, like, that's just like, it was like, those are the French peas. That's them right there. There they are.
Now, the casting for this one, some of them were like, oh, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? But some others were like, okay, there. I'll go through them each individually. Man and Cher was Mr. Nezer, pretty close. He was originally Mr. Feldzig until we realized, oh, we have Mr. Feldzig.
Mr. Feldzig is Mr. Feldzig. I mean, that's what he's based off of.
Yeah, then that one was just kind of right there. Eden was a struggle to get into Kitty because I was gonna have Hagsley be Kitty, but she's so old.
Right. It was when great work.
Larry was pretty much always Robert. Petunia was always Janet. The chaperone kind of jumped around here, and there was originally Madame Blueberry, but then I felt she'd be better at Tottingdale. Archibald was always Underling, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's another given.
Yeah, and then Bob was always George, for sure. I'm honored to be doing what a best man ought. The first person ever cast was Mr. Lunt as the great, mighty Alfonso in all of his handsome wonder and glory. Now, the bankers were originally Jimmy and Jerry, but I felt the French peas would be better. And then Khalil, I just kind of randomly threw into Trix mid-writing process because I forgot about her.
Oh, yeah.
And then And I love that joke where he comes in, he's still singing, and even though they stopped.
Yeah. Just a joke about how pointless he is.
Yeah. Because Trix doesn't do much.
Other than just fly the plane at the end.
Also, I'm really glad we were able to sidestep some of the more inappropriate moments in the Drowsy Chaperone.
Right. And, like, it's obscure enough that, like, if kids are like, or like, they're not going to ask, like, what's this based off of? And even if they do, I feel like maybe, like, 30% of parents would even know. Like, they're like, it's a play. Like, maybe.
And also that framing device, too.
Right, it was really unique. It was, like, similar to Hamlet, or Omelette, but it was, like...
in earnest.
Right,
time.
It was actually, like, an actual production instead of just... Because, actually, Phil Fisher... No, I think Mike Naraki actually said this on the Larry Boy commentary. Originally, the whole Obadiah Bumbly sketch or moment or like scene that was supposed to, like, originally they were gonna make a lot more like I always say Hamlet omelet, and some of it be just like so bad and like cheesy. But then they're like, and they use the words like an awful high school play, and then in Mike Naraki's words, I'm not saying all high school plays are bad, but when they're bad, they're bad. Or he's like something like that. It's like,
ain't that the truth?
Yeah. There's some pretty bad ones out there. But yeah. So he kind of like, okay, let's make this not so crummy.
But even that doesn't stop Bob from forgetting his line.
Yeah. It's like still a play, but it's not like... Now, the joke isn't that it's a bad play.
Now, Nazar's the Man in Chair. That was a pretty interesting take on him.
Yeah.
Because it was like just like the Man in Chair and yet not. Now, we know how this was as a VeggieTales thing, but how was this as an adaptation?
It was, I mean, awesome. I just gotta say, it was good. I mean, I read this for the first time not too long after I'd watched Drowsy Chaperone for the first time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was really good. Like, it felt like it was the same thing, but like it felt exactly what the VeggieTales Drowsy Chaperone should be.
Mm-hmm. And there actually was the ending where everybody got together at the end, but it just like, man, it doesn't fit. But actually, this is the funniest pitch I've ever done to you for an episode. Just like, hey, I've started an episode. Like, I didn't even consult you before I did this, because I remember I was just walking around one day. This is like the only one where he had nothing to do with the creative process.
Right.
So yeah, this one was all me. But I was just walking around one day listening to the soundtrack, reminiscing about the show, missing it a bit, because I do that a lot for all the shows I do. But I'm just kind of like, hey, we did this for The Nerd, we did this for Willy Wonka, and we're probably going to do it for Mary Poppins, because Mary Poppins auditions were coming up. So like, hey, why not the Drowsy Chaperone? And then I was starting to think, like, what could the lesson be? What could the lesson be? And then I was like, what was the lesson? It was originally... the lesson I originally had was, I think it was revenge or something, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. Oh wait a minute, dang it, we already used that. And like, I was kind of like, oh crap, we don't have anything to do. And I got like really upset and like, no wait, no, I can do this. And then I started throwing it all together and like, wow. And then I started the first scene that night, and then like 2 weeks later the script was finished, and then 2 months later it was done. Yeah, and this one has like some of the most music in there, lively and bouncy and energetic, but of course that's the original stuff. There's Form 284.
Oh, that was fun.
Form 284.
We were like dreading that like recording for that song, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be so hard. It's like it's gonna be so many takes, because like some of the other songs we recorded took a few takes.
Yeah, Fancy Dress took 7.
Yeah.
And Love Is Always Lovely took 6, I think.
Yeah. We were like, oh my gosh, that one's gonna... We were like saving it for lots. Like, that's gonna be a night... That one's gonna be the nightmare. And then we did a like first try, and it was like, oh my gosh, that was like perfect. And we're like, yeah.
That was the favorite song. What that hot Dorito does to my libido. That's everyone's favorite song in the show. That's the best song.
Yeah.
What else can we say about the Slumbering Guardian? It's just wonderful.
Oh, there's the silly song.
Oh, Message of a Mockingbird. Right. Ooh. That one is a 1.
I mean, it's literally what it was in episode the silly song, but Google translated.
Yeah, so many times too.
So much so that it's completely unrecognizable.
It is really unrecognizable.
Which is good, because if the kids somehow were able to trace it back to what it originally was, we'd have some problems on our hand.
Luckily, there's no feasible way.
Yeah.
That they could.
Unless if you speak every single language and can connect every single Google translating error somehow, because you're some sort of genius child who programmed Google Translate.
Exactly.
Which I don't think many of our viewers are.
Yeah. So now, number 2, the Gary Platter trilogy. Dun 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 dun. Spoilers. Skip to this time. You want to avoid them.
Well, we're not on the third one yet, and the third one's the third one's the only one that's not out. But we might still mention stuff. So, if you want to completely avoid spoilers, just skip to the end of this topic. If you want to avoid, or if you're okay with some maybe little tiny plot spoilers, you can
be careful.
Right, you can wait until we specifically start talking about the third.
So,
but if you want to be real careful, then just skip all the way ahead.
So we came up with the ideas for this all in one day on a boat.
Yep.
That was fun.
It's my boat.
Yes, my boat.
Mine.
What's yours is mine.
It's mine.
But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Gary Platter in the Dark Triad, or the Deadly Triad, which is now the name for it, is officially the longest production cycle a Live and Reloaded episode has been.
Yep, because
spanning almost a year.
We came up with it the same time as we came up with the other two.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we hadn't gotten into, like, writing or anything yet, but we knew kind of where we were going with it.
Why did number 3 take so long? You've seen Deathly Hallows?
Nope.
It's so dark.
I
and
haven't.
so long.
I haven't.
Well, not even like seeing it, reading it. That thing's like 1,010 pages. It's like the Bible in length. Let's talk about these 3.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with the first one. The first one didn't quite get to like in terms of just like epicness and like dark tones, though like the third one and even the second one to some extent got, but it was definitely a cool way to just like bring you into this, like, this is what this series is, and kind of bring you into that.
And it's science, not magic.
Yep, that was the big thing. Mm-hmm. That was the big thing when we were first thinking about it. We're like, okay, like, because no magic. No magic, Carmela.
No touch magic.
No touch magic, Carmela.
No touch magic.
So yeah, that was our big iffy thing there, but we worked around it, and
very iffy.
Yep. But even though like it's technology to the point where it's like basically magic, but it's not. It's science.
Da-da-da-da.
Even though like I don't know how you possibly technologically explain what they do, but it's science. It's just science.
Some of the best parts was anytime Flutework opens his mouth.
Yeah, Flutework is awesome.
The Quinzel turban line, with the turban subversion.
Oh.
You think that Moldy Wart's gonna be on the back of his head. There's also that Moldy Wart stuff, like, that is in all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Anytime you say his name, something bad happens.
Yeah.
The monster was great.
Oh,
John,
yeah.
Hermana, John, Gary, Hermana, Gary, monster! It was just 2 hungry guys who wandered in.
That's another one of those things. Just with Jimmy and Jerry, whenever they're around, it just becomes the pinnacle of just the essence of VeggieTales.
I remember we were having such a hard time with who was going to be Snape, but we just decided to create a new guy.
I think originally we had thought of Archibald, but then we're like, but Quinzel is Archibald.
Yeah, and then it was going to be Mr. Vischer, but
Yeah.
Also, the Madam Swatch
Oh,
stuff.
Madam Swatch.
It's even funnier in the third one, though.
Yes. Oh,
But-
it's so great.
So now, Dungeon of Mystery. Gunroy Laundart steals the show.
Gunroy Laundart was so fun. I've talked about my favorite Lunt roles, but this was by far my favorite Larry role. Second being Stinchworth. But this was... both of them are kind of similar.
Yeah.
But this one was by far my favorite Larry role. It was just so fun.
I miss this one. And this one
Yeah.
was considerably darker, too.
It was, yeah.
Like, with the giant, worm thing.
Worms. Why did it have to be worms?
And one of my favorite Gunroy Laundart moments is like, there's like the rattling in the pipes because of the worm. He's like, "Did you hear that sound? Yeah, it was me being awesome."
Oh, it was so
And then
great.
instead of the pixies, there was old people.
The old people who just complained about everything.
Yes. And then they were stopped by getting squirted with tapioca pudding.
That was their weakness.
Mrs. Nesbit, who doesn't make an appearance at the third one, sadly. There was just no room. Fletch was great. I love any time he opens his mouth and says an insult. Flute work was still beautiful in this one, never changed. There was just... It really followed Chamber's Secrets well, but also made a lot of fun of it, too.
Right.
Like the diary. Like how it didn't get signal and stuff. Also put in Peter Pettigrew, because we incorporated a little bit of Azkaban and Goblet in there.
Right.
Because we skipped books 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yep. That's not good. But we cut out enough to the point where we didn't need them.
Right. And they're still contingent. We can follow it all. You can know what's happening. Like, I haven't read any of the books, and I've only watched the first 3 movies. And yet, like, I didn't feel like anything was missing.
I thought I showed you Goblet of Fire. That's next then.
Nope. Last one I watched was the Azkaban. Yep.
Yeah, so, Deadly Triad.
Yep.
So,
It was...
the darkest VeggieTales episode by far.
Oh, yeah. Like...
Live, Reloaded, or otherwise.
Right. I mean, you go outside of Live and Reloaded, you've got your Esters, you've got your Easter carols. You go into Live and Reloaded, you've got even your Dungeon of Mysteries. You've got your, you've even got your Sherry Dawkins, and then you've got the Deadly Triad.
Even the name.
It just sounds... It gives you some chills.
Yeah.
I almost question if a parent walked into a store and saw VeggieTales, Gary Platter, and the Deadly Triad, whether they would actually pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, like, when they see the first one, Gary Platter and the Philanthropist Stone, they see it, and then their kid likes it, and they see, oh, there's the next one. Yay, I like the first one, let's buy it again. And then it's a cliffhanger, it's like, oh, that's the third one, I guess I have to buy it. And then they're sucked in.
Yes, it's a money vacuum. And the whole deadliness doesn't really come into it, but I love the lesson in this one.
Yeah.
It's really deep and, like, really adult.
Yeah. It really did. And it handled it maturely, too. It's just...
Because that's kind of what happens in the Deathly Hallows. Like, Voldemort basically wants to become God.
Yeah. I mean, like, this one, I almost... It's almost one of the ones that I... Not... how do I word it? Or I'd say it's like almost like the one I have, like, the hardest time imagining in VeggieTales form, because it's not, like, not there, but it, like, just steps so far, and it's just, like, so...
On purpose, of course.
Right. It's, like, I almost feel like it should be, like, a movie, because, like, just the tone, the fact that there's no countertop, which isn't too surprising, and just overall, like, this one specifically, it just feels so big, like, just large scale.
Funny, because that's what happens to somewhat Moldy-Word at the end. Some new characters were pretty good, like Mad Dog Grumpus. Grumpus. I just love that word. What's your name? Grumpus.
Krampus.
Sounds like Krampus. But then there was the funniest Madam Swatch joke in the whole series.
Yes. I don't want...
We're not spoiling
No.
it even here.
No.
Well, actually, no, we've warned about spoilers.
We have. I almost still don't want to, though.
Well, dude, they're gonna find out eventually.
Yeah, but it's so good.
All right, so let's just say then it's just like even the lead up. Okay, I'm just gonna say the lead up. It's like I have a new name. What's your name? I'm not saying it. Say your name. No, I'm not doing it. Say your name. You're not. Can't make me say it. Because he's so embarrassed by it.
So it's not an improvement.
It's not. It's a downgrade. But the action was good. The lesson was really good, and it calls back to the first one in the ways of the big fight scene at the end.
Right.
And there are some dark moments in Deathly Hallows that we do address, like Pettigrew kind of turning good, even though he strangled himself to death because of that. Some of the death stuff, Snape's death is included in this. It's not the death, but like
spoiler alert if you haven't seen the real thing.
Which you should.
I already knew that though.
Yeah. But that scene is included. Oh, Gunnar Londart makes an appearance. Dobby's death is not good. So, yeah.
I actually didn't know that one.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Maybe I did. I'm sure I did at one point.
I told you a long time ago.
Probably, yeah.
But this one was just like a big, epic experiment that I really think paid off.
Yeah.
It's something Big Idea probably wouldn't have done, but hey, we're the new Big Idea, basically.
Right, we have slightly different boundaries. Yeah. I mean, hey, we made a Futurama episode.
Something they never would have done.
Yeah. But, like, once we did it, it felt like they could have done it, but they probably wouldn't have. But they could have.
This whole thing is a big adventure, and if this was ever on DVD, they'd need to be released all three, because that's the best way to enjoy them. Just enjoy it in, like, one big thing, because it is a continuous story. And also, still amazed that we cut out Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, and Half-Blood Prince, and we didn't really miss out anything.
Yeah.
Kind of shows you that J.K. Rowling sucks as an author. I'm just kidding. I could never come up with something like Harry Potter. So, in case you couldn't tell, number one is obviously Xyther and Krez and the Escape from the Orient.
Yes.
Chuck in the Fantastic Factory. I mean, Escape from the Orient, what? Where did that even come from?
That sounds exciting. I'm interested in this.
One episode at a time. So, Chuck.
This was... I think this episode takes, like, all the things that I feel like some of the best things from each episode. Like, it's got, like, the bright, colorful cheerfulness that, like, Slackerville had. It's got, like, the, like, large scale that the Gary Platter ones have. It's got such great humor. It's got great casting, a great lesson, and it kind of is a little unique in the fact that within the episode, it takes like 5 different approaches at the same lesson. So we're not going to be able to use that one ever again.
Nope, we've used everything.
Which was kind of a problem, because at first I was thinking when I was writing McBob, oh, influences, that's perfect. McBob listens to the witches and his wife, and then I realized, wait a minute, we already did it. I can't do it. But it's okay, because ambition works too.
Yeah, but not just because I adore the story of Willy Wonka, not just because that I was in Willy Wonka and adored that, not because of Charlie and the Grand Union, although I still love it. Just everything was perfect for this one.
The songs were great. The story was great. Mitch Telly was amazing.
What made that so good?
I don't know. Everything just fell into place.
Even though this was one of the easiest to visualize, because this is an audio, and the whole point is you need to visualize it. This is so easy to visualize,
right?
Because I think we set up the world really well. This is the best written episode, I think.
Right.
It's not just a retelling of Willy Wonka or Charlie. It's more of Charlie.
Right.
Live with it.
Yeah.
But we've jumped onto that long enough.
Right.
So much. I think 2 hours worth so far. But
pretty much.
But this one, I think it was just like, it had enough spins. It had enough to it. It had enough different.
Yeah. Like, it followed the same story, but it wasn't like just copy paste.
And the length was the only worry, because we had so much cut.
I know. It's one of the... It's
like next to, like, Deadly Triad. I think it's the longest. But it needed to be that long. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not a story you can condense. Tom and Jerry! So, you need to tell it in full.
Right.
Even then, we cut out a lot of stuff from the book, which is primarily what this was based off of. Like, obviously we're going to cut some of the smaller stuff, like the square fruits that look round. Because it's just a pun. Fizzy lifting drinks. Kind of put a little subtle jab to that one, but it was deleted. Hey, Charlie, let's take a sip of that. Nah, and then they leave. Because really, that scene was just. I understand why Roald Dahl hated it. Like, I liked the scene, but it just made him angry.
Right.
But the music was so good. This was one of the few episodes where we had Blue Yoshi something or other doing it. He was really good while he lasted, but he just kind of faded away for some reason. This was the first one that we had him on for all the songs. And I felt it was really good. And this was our first anniversary. This was the mark where we've grown as writers. We knew what to do. We knew what we were doing. And we were ready to show it off. We were ready to show off what we learned since Eddie Woodley. And I think we really showed everyone.
And so what we have learned applies to our lives today. God has a lot to say in his book. You see, we know that God's word is for everyone. Now that our song is done, we'll take a look.
So, in Chuck and the Fantastic Factory, we learned just the right balance of humor and story.
Yep.
We also learned that how to build a world without explaining it so much with the parentheses. We explained just like with the way they talk and the way they react to things can ultimately help make the world feel bigger or smaller. And we felt like we gave the world just a huge atmospheric thing.
Yeah. It just, as you said, this is like so easy to visualize, like, and it's like, sometimes you can kind of go there, but it's not always just like, oh, I just picture the vegetables going around in like the same, like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like, stuff. Like, it's like, you see that, but like, you see it like in its own way, kind of, like, it just feels unique. It's really, this is just a very unique episode.
It is. Like, we worked so hard at it.
Yeah, this was a
real labor of passion, and I think it really paid off. Some great jokes too, like, oh no, the whole world goes giant except for me! There's great stuff like that. There's Alphonse and just how fat he is. Don't stop believing! Fight to the end! You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around! That is what it's all about, after all.
And Wonkins, right. It's been a while. Dang, I gotta go back and see that one again. But yeah, his humor was amazing.
There's something I'm watching.
That was just hilarious.
Oh no, he's stuck. Would you keep it down? He's stuck in a pipe. Big deal.
It was just like, he was just such a horrible person. And I think, I don't know why I love this, but like when he was being carried away when he was tiny and he was just like screaming, I loved that so much. I think it kind of gave me a bit of like Esther memories of like when he was like being tickled away. Like it was kind of a similar moment for that in terms of just Mr. Luntness.
Yeah.
It was just so fun to do. Especially, it just was also just so cathartic. Just like, because of how horrible of a person he'd been.
Because like Mike TV, Mitch Tilley is a bad, bad man.
Yeah. He's just kind of that same, I don't give a flying flip about any of you, and I'm gonna let you know. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily go out of my way to kill you, but if you all died, I wouldn't bat an eye. I would maybe chuckle a little bit.
Yeah, and then there's all their punishments at the end, like he's all flat and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing Big Idea didn't get a hold of this one. Their animators would have gone on strike.
Yeah. Oh, the chocolate river would be real fun.
Yeah, and it getting stuck on somebody and it has to be visible and it has to have the right thickness.
Mm-hmm.
All we need is a big, wet, hairy octopus, and then they're set with its tongue sticking out.
And a lasso.
Yeah, and a lasso.
Furry, also.
Furry lasso. A frayed lasso.
And the octopus also is very hairy.
Yes. That's a big hairy
right.
octopus.
I missed that. Yeah.
So that... Was it ever any doubt? We've always said this one was our favorite. Do you think we can actually top Chuck?
It would... I mean... We said we couldn't with Eddie Woodley, and we did. So I don't think it's impossible. However, I think our chances of getting there are just... Lightning would have to strike twice.
Because think about it. With episodes like Gone and Back Again, the Q Trauma ones, or Guardian, they were close. They were so close. Some of our best, but even then they couldn't get it.
Right. Like...
Even Gary Platter couldn't get that high.
Right. Like, I don't think it's necessarily... Like, as I said, it's not... I wouldn't quite say it's impossible. Because we thought it was... not gonna happen with Eddie Woodley, and it did. So I can't totally rule it out. However,
we also thought it wouldn't happen with Blessed Gift.
Right, and Blessed Gift is now got passed by a lot of them.
Yeah.
But just I think so. I won't rule it out. However, it'd be like a 1 in 1,000 chance.
Yeah,
for us to land right on that perfect spot.
It's gotta be the right source material and the right writing style and the right time. Because this came out at the right time.
Yeah.
But for the rest of it, everything has to align in its favor. Like this one, nothing went wrong with this one.
Right, the stars need to align.
And the planets and the politicians, they all need to align. Make America great again. So, thank you for joining us on this journey. It's not over, but it's more infrequent now. There's going to be a couple episodes per year, like a few episodes, mostly because college, and a bigger focus on our own show, which we haven't really explained quite yet, and we won't yet. But when the time comes, you will know what it is. We'll talk about it. We'll move from this channel to that one, because it's not a YouTube-only show. It's going to be like Netflix or direct-to-video, or maybe even if a network will pick us up. Hopefully we can fill the void that VeggieTales has left. But in the city is still on. It's not VeggieTales! It's not. It's Peppa Pig now.
At best, I can say that some of the designs aren't totally horrible.
They only encourage small night terrors.
Right. To be fair, Mr. Luntz isn't so bad. Just texturally, he looks odd. But, in terms of just actual design changes, they just gave him a goatee and it looks kind of neat. Mm-hmm. But
everyone else looks bad.
Right. Or at least just, some of them don't necessarily look horrific, but they just don't look like themselves.
But we've harped on that enough. So, folks, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in whatever adventure we come on next.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Gesundheit. Farewell.